like every time you go through that door, it's a battle for your own sanity at times.
It can be, yeah.
You know, well, maybe not every time. That's a bit much. But yes, at times it certainly is. You know, at other times it's just mellow chill. I was at a festival one time. Me and my homie, my best friend, who's out in Hawaii now. But we were talking about this the other day. It's kind of funny bringing that up. Like we were at this festival. This dude had a vial.
You scoot in?
Sure. Yeah, this dude had a vial of like. Just incredible liquid acid, you know, and it was mic'd at like 200 a drop or something like that, you know, and it was like, all right, well, just give me one to the tongue, you know what I mean? And he kind of, you know, so all right, here you go, you know, pay my money, you know, here you go, and he goes, well, there's an extra one, you know, it's like, oh, okay, thanks, bud, so see ya. Just off to Neverland on that one. That one was fun though. That was a festival.
I can't deal with that many people around.
Festival situations, like if you're at a cool one, it's everything. Like I wouldn't want to be that gone at like Bonnaroo or something, you know? Like,
Even like stuff that, like I've never even been to like big festivals like that, like that they'll have like down at the Swanee or anything. But even just knowing, like seeing the pictures of, as far as like, oh, this is what's happening at Wani, it's like, well, that looks like fun, but I would not want to be like.
Yeah, some of the festivals down there have gotten a bit too big for me. Like I like the ones that cap at like, you know, 3,000 to 5,000 people. You know, kind of smaller festivals. I mean, I've been to Bonnaroo 3 times. You know, 100,000 people. It's nuts.
I couldn't do it, man.
Nuts. I did it before it took kind of the real poppy turn. Like it was still kind of a jammy thing when I went, but even then, like I said, it was like right when like MTV and all that kind of stuff started getting involved in it, and I was like, we quit going that year, you know.
Right.
But yeah, so many people. But I remember back in the day, like down at the Swanee, since you bring that up, man, like I went to my first festivals down there, you know, as a teenager. You know, my brother took me down there. And dude, I remember, like, he took me to a B.B. King Blues Festival one time down there, you know. I remember going to, like, all the local bluegrass bands around here back in the day. You remember, like, Dawn of the Buffalo and, like, Glass Camels and Blue Ground Undergrass. Some of them are still around, you know.
Yeah, I've seen Dawn of the Buffalo at least in the last 5 years.
Yeah, they're still around, yeah.
What else was it? Blue Sky Dead Grass or something like that. It was like a Grateful Dead like bluegrass band or something like that.
Okay.
Not a big Deadhead by any means.
I'm not either. I can respect the guitar playing.
I mean, yeah, like I get it, but I like a dash of Nightmare in my trip. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I like some testicular and ovarian fortitude in the music.
I'm glad you put it that way. Like I feel like it's like a lot of Grateful Dead has just no balls. You know, there's a lot of music that's that way. I feel like anything that James Taylor covers, he just pulls the balls right out of it. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like, hey, you want to hear a song but not as good? You know, it's like, I can't do it. Can't do it. Sorry, James. I respect the guitar picking, but yeah, I mean, like, just no balls. No, just.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
I mean, I remember
Suffocation, no bleeding.
You know what? It's funny. Like he tries to be edgy sometimes. Like you see him in like what's that movie? He's in that movie like was it Funny People with Adam Sandler? There's that part where they go to Facebook and he does the thing.
Yeah.
You know, and he's all like, "Fuck Facebook," you know. And he's like, "Is that James Taylor saying fuck Facebook?" You're like, "That's cool." I guess.
I think that was like the last time MySpace was relevant, at least in my life, was Funny People.
Probably
like,
that movie.
That scene. You know what I mean? Because that was like shortly that, I mean, clear up.
Way bailed before that on Facebook. Yeah, like way bailed before that. Mm-hmm. So that's funny. I think, social media started with Facebook. That's a weird one.
The first one I got was a MySpace page. I remember that.
That's what I meant. MySpace. I meant MySpace. I remember that one back in the day. Had your own like your song on your page and everything.
Yeah, man. I would.
Good old days.
It was cool because it was like it wasn't a P2P sharing anymore. It was like this network of like bands and like creators, and I was like, this is really spectacular.
Yeah.
Like, and I even started looking at like venues in advance and that they would have like they'd list out like, oh, for the month of October we got this at Jackrabbits.
Jackrabbits
in Jacksonville, you know.
Yeah, I've been there many times.
Yeah,
many times.
But it gave an avenue to to be able to like listen to these bands as opposed to, well, that sounds like an interesting band name.
Yeah.
Like, no, kids, you all cannot go see the Bare Naked Ladies. I don't know what kind of music they're putting out, but it does not seem appropriate.
Right. Which is another like no balls band, you know. That's funny. But yeah, I remember like, back in the day when we spent all our money on records and CDs and like, I don't know if I want to buy the whole CD, I'm just going to get the single. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. Like that nobody even makes full albums anymore. I appreciate what you do. Just because you look at it as a piece of work, not just one. I mean, like you look at some of the people that are like chart very high. It's like their only release. You know, you're like, come on, come on.
I always found just such a fascination with the concept of albums in general.
Yeah.
Like even the lyricism behind everything. It's like, well, why is the album titled this? Is there a title track? If not, is it found somewhere within the words? And if so, how important is this song to the band? I love
that too. Like, where did the name of the album come from? And try to find that within the lyrics of the song, you know? Like, I don't feel like anybody does that anymore. What was your first concept album? Like, what... Like the concept of a concept album, I guess, came to me, like, I might have been like, maybe 14 or 15. My Aunt Judy gave me a box of records, and one of them was... Well, actually, several of them were Moody Blues, but one of them was... Days of Future,
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, Days of Future Past, yeah. And all of a sudden my brain went X-Men as soon as I started to say it. I was like, hey, right? But, that album, when it tells the whole story, and it's like, I was like, I never knew people did that before, and it didn't take long before I, knew this as a concept now, and so very shortly in The Who, Tommy,
right,
The Wall, like the early concept albums and stuff like that. It always has blown me away and been a fascination. Like, if you can write, like, I'm not really a songwriter. Like, I've got a couple that I do, but I mean, like, to just the fecundity, I guess, of just writing all the time. I don't really have that, And so to be able to tie not just one thought, but a whole album's worth of cohesive thought together, like, that's next level shit, man.
Yeah.
Next level shit.
I think that's why it always fascinated me. And plus, you look at, like, just because they're focused on the bigger picture, it means a lot of times they're not afraid to try something different, right? So I think the first one I probably got introduced to, like, via, like, my parents, was probably like Dark Side of the Moon or Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars.
Yeah.
But as far as
nice,
like something that would have been from like our generation, it was probably Marilyn Manson. And the stark difference between Antichrist Superstar and Mechanical Animals, and I thought, man, like, this is really spectacular. Like, aside from all of the the teenage angst and the nihilism, like nihilistic qualities that comes with it. Like, it was, everything was about, like, the art of the album, and, like, he would even, like Bowie, change his persona, but not really. Like, he wouldn't, like, change who he was in interviews or anything like that. It's still Brian Warner, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Brian. Like, I love it when you hear, like, somebody's, like, actual name, like, I remember the first time I heard that, like, the unknown Henson, like, his name's Danny. Like, it just doesn't work for me, man. But, I mean, that era, it's funny that you bring Marilyn Manson, too. That era, I think, right after Antichrist, I think that's when John 5 joined that band.
He
kind of right in there, 98, 99, right in there.
He joined for the touring of Mechanical Animals.
Okay.
But he wasn't on the songwriting process.
Okay, right on.
They had after Daisy Berkowitz, they had a guitarist Zim
Zim, yeah.
But I believe the majority of the music on Mechanical Animals was written by Jordy White, Twiggy Ramirez, Ginger Fish.
Okay.
And
but he came out for the
Brian Warner.
That's cool. Like, I've been kind of obsessed with John 5 recently. Not so much the Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie stuff, but like
his virtuoso stuff.
Oh my God, he's amazing! He's so amazing.
I think he actually, on his left hand, I think he has 3 other fingers that are just hidden.
Dude.
And he just
He's
like,
got
flips
to.
them out.
I mean, just the ridiculous sweeps that he does, and like the bending above the nut and all that kind of stuff. It's like, get out of here.
It's like the guy from Animals as Leaders. Like,
Was it Tosin Abasi?
yeah.
That dude. Oh. I never tried playing one of them 8-string guitars before. Those things are daunting.
I've never even played a 7-string before.
I have once. It was
Yeah?
cool. I didn't know what to do with it at the time. I'm a much more serious guitar player now than I was then. But, yeah, the 8 strings, I mean, the extended scaling that they can do, it's fascinating. Like, shred has just gone off the chain. I mean... it's not my particular genre, but I mean, I respect the shit out of it.
Well, it's, like back in the, I guess it'd be like the 80s and the 90s, guys like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and everybody's like you think that fucking Metallica's the real shit? Listen to this fucking Surfer Alien, babe.
Right.
I think I was at like Surfer Alien or it's one. I don't know.
Surfing with the Alien. It was that Satriani album with the the Silver Surfer on that.
Yeah. That or
that one.
Michelangelo Batio played like
the dual neck guy,
the
right?
double neck guitar. He played
Best national anthem ever, though, man.
I mean, no doubt. It's like well, that's cool, but you gotta just look at him and his face whenever he started playing, where he's like, yeah, I'm getting all the pussy tonight. All this fucking pussy's mine. It's like, bro, calm down. Just because your guitar is spread eagle doesn't mean the audience is.
Yeah, dude.
You probably had more luck with the couple of bro dudes in the back and just like, God, man.
I think the fact that that's his shtick is like, I play 2 guitars at the same time. Like, that guy's ego is probably just off the chain. Just dial it back a notch, bud.
He used to had a sponsorship from Dean, I believe, and now it's like he was just on my Facebook feed the other day of something with him, and it was like some guitar you'd like never heard of, and he's still there. Of course, his face is looking older and more haggard, but the hair exactly the same. The 1980s poofy mullet still there.
Style.
Do you think there's something with going back to psychedelia and festivals and whatnot, something with that also ties in with notions of like libertarianism and anti-authority?
For me, sure. I mean, I don't know about everybody, but yeah, for me, sure. Fuck the police. That was always kind of a thing. I was never one to shy away from doing something that seemed fun just because it was illegal.
Right.
I mean, nothing like off the chain. I never hurt anybody. But I mean, I certainly have had a nationwide graffiti career. So, there's that, some legitimate and most of it not, But yeah, so I mean, for me, certainly some of that was damn the man.
Right.
Let me try some of this stuff. But, like once you have your first, not just psychedelic experience. I don't think this happened to me on my first go-round, but it didn't take long for, you take a big enough dose and you have a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
So maybe that came from my early libertarian leanings. I mean, looking back on my life, I think I was a libertarian always. I just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know anything about it. You know what I mean? It just kind of, as long as I'm not hurting anybody, leave me alone. Kind of libertarianism has been pretty much my entire life. I mean, like I keep to myself.
Yeah.
Pretty, just doing my thing. You do your thing. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wish more people would. I mean, I haven't really like polled the party. I'm not like a member of the Libertarian Party or anything, but I mean,
what do you think the appeal is nowadays with this, like the trend of authoritarianism? Like it seems to be like, which it baffles me as somebody who's like again, like I'm out here in the woods. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and sort of like outside looking in, and people are like saying like, you know, we're here, like the revolution is here, and we're sponsored by Pepsi, and like, you know, like Starbucks. I'm being facetious, Pepsi. I know they listen to every show, so you know.
Right.
Yeah, please sponsor me, Pepsi. But no, like why do you think that is? That like authoritarianism now seems to be cool, or that it seems to be like the normal thing, and it's like absolutely not normal.
I don't know. It's like, is authoritarian the new punk rock? I don't get it, dude. I really don't. I can't stand people telling me what to do, like ever. I mean, to the point where I'm surprised I'm not fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, I clash with my boss all the time. You know, like, just over, you know what I mean? I have a great relationship with my boss, but, you know, but it's just like, all these people that just, where does that notion come from that not only is our idea, I don't know, in their minds it's better than your idea, obviously, but the mandate to impose it on you, like, oh, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I'm not trying to impose anything on anybody. You know what I mean? So it's like I can't relate. It's weird. It's bizarre.
Do you think maybe it's one of these things where nothing else has sort of worked for these people and they find themselves destitute? Not necessarily like financially destitute. I mean, we live in America, for Pete's sake. But at this point where they feel their life has become so stagnant that they're like, well, the only thing left to do is to just join the mob, and you know, we'll.
I feel like I get it more of like the younger kids, right? Like younger than us, say, that came up entirely raised by a device. You know what I mean? And so like even like they've never had like what you and I had, like, you know, growing up through the 80s and 90s, where, you know, like at home, man, you didn't know what your friends were doing. If you wanted to know what your friends were doing, you had to like go across town. You know what I mean? Like you had to get your parents involved. Somebody had to start the car. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what your friends were doing ever.
We had to make plans.
Yeah, you know. But these kids, they're always connected all the time. Games are connected all the time. Social media. I mean, even like stuff like, I'm not into it, but even stuff like, you know, playing video games and Xbox and PlayStation, all that stuff. People are always talking to each other. They're never alone. And so I don't know, maybe it's just the collective, you know, it's like such a lack of independent will, maybe, that they can't conceive of any other way.
It's the
I don't know.
The comfort of normalcy, I guess, with that. But
sure. I mean, to me, it's like I said, because it's so unnormal to me. It's like I feel like it's like a disease or something that needs to be like diagnosed. You know, it's like, what's wrong with you people? Like, I don't know. I can't. Like, I was having this conversation with my dad, you know, who's I love talking to him, super smart dude, you know. But talking about, like, a lot of this stuff makes sense to me if you were just like, oh, people are evil. Okay, sure. So they want to take over the world, and they want to tell you what to do with your life, and they want to just rule everything because they're fucking evil. Okay. I mean, yeah, sure, it makes sense that way. Seems like a super oversimplification of things.
Right.
You know, so I don't want to go all the way that far. It's like it's just evil, but certainly some people are evil.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even
certainly some people are influenced by evil. So I mean, you can't rule all of that out either. But I don't know. Like I said, that desire to impose, like I still have friends out in California. And I get into this with them all the time because they're super, super liberal people. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what makes you think that life in L.A. has anything to do with my life in Lanier County? You know, and so like that, I just can't jive on. I don't get it.
I just don't like the slogans of everything, like this hive mind stuff where it's like, bro, these aren't your ideas. You literally just copy and paste. And I know because we've all been copying and pasting and sharing other people's ideas rather than our own for years now. And it's conditioned, I think, a lot of people's brains into reacting that way too, where it's like, okay, well, what's where's the answer for this? Or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I was listening to a Jordan Peterson lecture not long ago, and he was talking about, do you think in words or do you think in pictures? you know, and there was some, you know, some debate about, you know, how people process it. I think I think these people were talking about thinking memes. Like, I don't even think that they string thought together. I think it's just this, then that, and one can be diametrically opposed to the other, but whatever is the most current in the frontal lobe is what they go on or something. I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, that's the thing that, like, I guess no matter if you're looking at the horseshoe diagram, the fringes of the horseshoe spectrum, or if it's the you know, the XY plot graph, and you've got libertarian at the bottom, and socialism and capitalism, and then authoritarianism at the top. So I tend to be like, I don't give a shit about the anarcho-communists. They want to get land, start their commune, smoke their weed, and have their orgies and farm and all that.
Let them.
Yeah, this is America. You can totally exploit, like, that's what this country is designed to do.
Yeah.
But there's some people, man, with, and some friends of mine that are out in California where it's like every argument they say is just, they're these slogans.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I'll point something out and they'll just be like a cab. I'm like, well, that's just silly. All cops are bastards? All cops are bastards? What? I mean, fuck the government, you know what I mean?
Right.
Fuck authority, but like, I've been in situations before where I needed a police officer, and I was really happy that I could call 911 and with our social police force, not have to worry about, like, can I afford to hire private security? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, this nonsense, it's no different than you'll have people on the right that are just like well, all liberals, all they want is to just, you know, usher in pedophiles into America and bring down the fall of, you know, Christian society. It's like, I mean, maybe some of them, sure, but all of them?
Yeah, all
of them?
Let's quit with the with hyperbole, you know, and just making everything just superlative. It is the worst president ever. It is the last mate. I don't know. It's just it's the most important. It just everything is just like so dialed up to 11 all the time.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, and I don't think people are even, like, listening. So, like, those folks I'm talking about, like, on the right that are just like, well, everybody that disagrees with me, they have to be, like, you know, like, pro-pedophilia and, like want to usher in Marxism in America.
Right.
No, again, like, there's people in that sect that want that. And then folks on the left where they'll try to say, like, well, Trump supporters are just racist rednecks. I know because I've been around racist rednecks.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so have I. What about the black Trump supporters?
Yeah.
What about the Latino and Cubano and Hispanic Trump supporters?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Look around here. I mean, I'm not going to speak for everybody around, but I mean, I basically feel like I live in Trump country. I mean, you know.
It's the buckle of the Bible Belt.
You know what I'm saying? For the most part. And so, like, when people are like, oh, these people are racist and horrible, I'm like, who, my grandparents? Like, no, they're not. I'm like, no, they're not. I'm like, who are you talking about? All these people that go to church 3-4 times a week? These are the people that you have identified as the problem?
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, man. Like,
people aren't asking why people are voting a certain way. Like, not to keep beating a dead horse for you know, my audience, but, like, I don't give a shit who you vote for. Like, as long as you, or if you even vote, as long as you know why you're doing it. If you have your reasons for why you're doing it,
sure,
then, like, I'm all about it. I got my reasons of why I'm going to vote for certain things and, like, certain people. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit what anybody's opinion is on that. It's not going to sway me.
Yeah.
So, like,
like people talk about, like, the wasted vote. Well, the wasted vote is if you haven't read a book ever. The wasted vote is if you have not heard anything that wasn't packed down your throat by network news. That's a wasted vote. You didn't look that up. Like, just these bubbles that people live in. You know, it's like if you are uneducated, it's your civic duty to not vote. You know what I mean? It's like, don't go inflicting your ignorance on the rest of the... I mean, we're the strongest country in the world. You're inflicting your ignorance on the world. Not even just the people around you. The world. Reverb, echo, the world, the world, the world. You know? Like, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you know, it's like... You don't know shit about politics. You don't, like... It amazes me, like, the people that I remember personally that, like, slept through civics class that suddenly have opinions. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't even get the foundational understanding of what we're talking about. Which is why you have all these people that are like angry. Well, why doesn't the president go and do this? Because that's not a federal power.
Yeah.
You're like, why does the president just march through Portland and take out the riots? Because that's not a federal power.
Yeah.
Do you want to live in the country where the president can just send the thugs?
Yeah.
Hell to the no.
Sounds a little fascistic to me.
Exactly. And so it's like, people don't even understand what's going on. They don't even understand who's responsible. It's just, it's frustrating. You know what I mean? It's like the burden of knowledge, I guess. You know, the opposite of ignorance is bliss. You know, the knowledge is a burden at times because you have to deal with all the ignorant people. Yeah. You know, it's like... Oh.
And ignorant in the literal sense, as in to ignore data.
Yeah.
Like, not as in like, well, he's saying they're stupid. No. Saying that if you are presented with information and you say, well, I don't care about that information because it conflicts with my worldview.
Yeah.
That's being ignorant.
Like digging in your heels. Yeah. Like,
yeah. I'm going to die on this hill. It's like, well, okay, I'm not going to die, so enjoy your hill.
It's a bad hill.
Yeah, man.
This ain't the right hill, bro. Like,
you ever heard of soil liquefaction? That sucker's just going to sink.
It's a bad hill, you know? But I don't know, what is the hill?
Well, I mean, for different people, it's different things. Again, so I think it all depends on what it boils down to. Now, personally, I don't like the idea of a cigar. I think it's how you pronounce his name, from The Hill Rising. He had something video on Instagram where he was talking about the problem with letting political parties control aspects of a wedge argument, for lack of a better term. So, for example, blue team is pro-choice, red team is pro-life, red team is pro-gun, blue team is pro-gun control.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he was saying that it's a dangerous way to sort of guide our political parties towards trying to be a progressive future.
Yeah.
Which everybody wants a progressive future.
But there's no choice. Like there has to be a progressive future. There's no choice. Like you can't stop progress. It's like one of the oldest phrases that we use. I mean, like, come on, man. Like there's truth in the ancient wisdom. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
and how?
Yeah, come on, man. Like it's gonna happen. Like that's a funny one to me too. You know, like I've always like, okay, aren't the conservatives supposed to be like small government people? Why did they push the war on drugs then?
Yeah.
Like that to me is just so flipped. And there's a lot of things that are like that. To me, that are just like even the game is messed up. They're not conservative and liberal. They cherry pick both of them, and they're just different brands, kind of the same authoritarian desire to tell you what to do with your life.
Yeah, I think
sucks.
I think a true patriot is not defined solely by military service or anything like that, but as far as like even like on a civilian level, it's somebody that supports liberty. Mm-hmm. That, you know, for people, you know, all the idea that like everybody has equal access to the Constitution, to our Bill of Rights. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're right. When you look at like something like the war on drugs and mass incarceration of drug offenders, you kind of have to look at the Republican Party and be like, weren't you about abolishing people in chains?
Yeah.
That's how you started.
Yeah.
Like, they're in 100 years, they did a like not a 180, but like a 90-degree turn from where their values originated from.
Oh yeah, like you see all these guys right now on TV. They're bashing Joe Biden for the '94 crime bill. You see a lot of old Republican senators shutting the fuck up right now too, don't you? You know, they're
probably
like,
voted for that.
They're like, please don't bring up who voted for that. Don't show the roll call on that one. And they're like, yeah, screw you guys.
Yeah,
it's two brands of the same authoritarian.
That's
which boot do you want on your neck, the right or the left?
Oh,
you know, like,
gosh. Well, I've had the right one for a while now. Let's try the left.
Let's try the left boot. Yeah, maybe
that is the rationale with some people, where it's just like, I just want something different. It's like, well, we're in something different right now.
Right.
You just don't like that the person that was the catalyst for it wasn't for the left side of the aisle. Mm-hmm. Every president in my lifetime at least, has had opportunity to break free from this, even though I didn't know it as a child or a 20-something-year-old, but this banking cartel, this cabal from Rome, every one of them has had the opportunity to be like, let's take some steps.
Right.
So, again, to prepare for the future where we can be rid of this and have autonomy again.
Right.
And every one of them, until this illustrious orange bastard got in, has furthered this sort of globalist banking cartel agenda.
Yeah.
As far as like, well, if we side with the guys that want to conquer the world, we can make a lot. And now they believe in trickle-down economics, right? So they can justify it and be like, well, it's going to be good for the country too. If I make money, it'll be good for everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that whole global scheme of things. And I mean, like, these are the reasons, like, when you look behind some of these conflicts that we've been in, you know, it's like Noriega didn't want anything to do with, like, the U.S. dollar. You know, recently was the guy Assad tried to get rid of the U.S. dollar. You know, it's like
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi. That's the guy I was thinking of. Yeah, like, you know, it's
they. I don't think a lot of folks really appreciate what it took to set this country up, and not as far as like people died, war, whatever. No. The steps in like our Constitution and our how we govern ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of planning that went into this. As far as well, absolute power corrupts men absolutely, right? And I believe in that. You know, so over time, it's one of these things where it's kind of like a house that's dilapidated and you're renovating it. So as you're fixing it up, there's more stuff you find. Yeah, that you're like, okay, now we have to fix this and fix this. So whilst that has all gone on, for some reason, starting with the Reagan administration, we start seeing, like, it's like, okay, well, everybody gets rich in the Reagan administration. The economy's doing really well.
Booming.
And then this same cartel stays in power for 36 years. Yeah. 36 years. This like one group, this one crime family, essentially gets in. And then when a new crime family comes in, they're just like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. The worst.
It basically is all cartels and crime families. I mean, like that's I mean,
that's the name of the game. That's how the world has been played.
It's just what it is, always. Yeah. And it's like, we have a better system than has kind of restrained, I don't know, just unbridled power in the past. You know, like certainly the American system has been awesome. I mean, it's held up. I mean, its most formidable foe at this point might be social media. You know what I mean? But like it's like the one thing that has happened that, you know, couldn't be foreseen, you know, kind of thing that just somebody completely takes over the distribution of information basically and slants it. Yeah. You know, basically the Constitution stood up to everything else.
Yeah, except big tech.
And so that's why I think this one's a big deal that, you know, like right now where we're at, like if we don't, something has to happen with the big tech. It absolutely has to. Like, I don't know if people are still unaware of all the censoring and stuff like that, but it's just run amok. You know what I mean? Like, the thing with them, like, it doesn't even have to do with the story to me, but them, like, blocking out, like, the New York Post, which is, like, the fourth largest paper in circulation or something like that? Or the fourth,
and one of the oldest in circulation. And we're not talking about Alex Jones or
nothing like that.
The Young Turks
about the New York fucking Post.
Yeah.
Like, like, most people don't know newspapers from places they don't live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
Everybody knows the New York Post. It's been in so many movies. You know, I mean, it's all these things. You know, you always see those images of it. You know, the cover of the New York Post. You know, and the extra. You know, and the kid cutting the strap off the newspapers, New York Post, and all that. You know, it's like, I don't see how they can do that. You know, like there was what's his name? Ted Cruz was talking to the guy, Jack Dorsey, you know, the head of Twitter. Right. And he was like, who the hell elected you? It was a great moment. You know, he was like, who the hell elected you? What makes you think that you can even do this? You know, so like, hopefully something gets done about it. I mean, clearly there are people that are looking at this issue, but
I think
will the right people look at it in time? I mean, there's like a tipping point here where it's just you can't. You know what I mean? Like a point of no return. I think.
Yeah. I personally, and again, you guys vote for whoever you want, but I don't think that's going to get solved if the left side of the aisle takes control of the White House.
Definitely not.
Like that's where I'm at, and that's not even me with my bias against the DNC as an institution.
Right.
I'm just saying, in the present tense, aside from the myriad of things that I think they're also fucking up on this big one in particular, the First Amendment. Like, I think that they will encourage this type of Orwellian sort of woke ideology to be like, all right, well, not only is at the point where they're doing it with rhetoric, but now like Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary, she's booted from Twitter.
I didn't know that
from sharing the New York Post article about this Hunter Biden's laptop. And the thing is, dude, it ain't stopping them from releasing more info.
Right.
Like, they're continuously releasing more info.
Yeah.
So it whether you think that the Biden family is good or bad, it is not looking good when they're continuously releasing more of this information under this censorship that's going on. And it's fucking disgusting, man. Like, it's if they're platforms and not publishers, I get that. Like, because they can't be sued for libel, for publishing something that's, somebody else says.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. But you have to hold up the Constitution. Like, these companies are given like special grants and like money essentially from the government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they work hand in hand. So why are I don't like Ted Cruz, but he brings up a good point. Why are Why are they able to be the authority here, and it's under the guise of, well, it's a private company? Yeah. Well, they're not acting in the private sector.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're trying to influence this election, and if we don't solve this problem in like this next 4 years somehow, then I think that 2024, that is it.
Yeah,
like that's it.
It's toast. Yeah, you get what they stuff down your throat.
Yeah,
and that's it.
And no matter if it doesn't matter what's trending, right? Because if they're the gatekeepers, they're going to notice when things are trending back to the left or to the right, and they're going to adjust their algorithms.
Sure.
They're going to adjust their marketing campaigns.
Sure.
They're going to adjust which celebrities they're telling or putting in your screen in the most.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's only like 6 or 7 media companies. That's it.
Isn't that freaky?
Yeah.
Isn't that freaky? Like, I remember hearing that years ago, and that freaked me out. And I remember also years ago, prior to, like, social media, I remember telling somebody, I might have even written this in a school newspaper in high school, for crying out loud, that, like, the scariest phrase I knew was news entertainment.
Yeah.
And that was back talking about, like, Entertainment Tonight. You know what I mean? That was talking about like TMZ. Like, we didn't even like. Yeah, all of these media, like finger quotes, media outlets like Huffington Post. I'm looking at you. You know what I mean? Like, that only exist because of social media. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's just I'm confused. But like everything I see around me, I'm confused unless I look at it through the lens of these people are evil and trying to take over.
Yeah, which is the lens you want to avoid.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, exactly. As a rational person, I'm like, I really don't like this polarity. Those people are evil. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. But damn, I don't think it's really so much the machinations of like individuals as it's just kind of this just like. What do they call it? I heard this phrase with the military-industrial complex is a self-licking ice cream cone.
Mm.
And so I think that's kind of where we are. I think we need to start like acknowledging that there's like a media informational complex or something that's also happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're feeding you this data, which is then, I don't know, disseminating through society, and it's causing people to do things. And so they're seeking out more of this data. And so it's just like this, it's ugly, dude. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's a bad loop of some sort that we need. real bad.
I think, and this may not be a popular opinion, that's okay. Not really a popular man. I think a potential solution is we need to break up the country into smaller chunks.
Yeah, something to be said for that, I think. It's 300 million people.
Oh, more than that. Like that's just citizenry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's just
that's not residents.
Citizenry.
That's not folks hiding out. That's not visitors. That's just the citizenry.
It's untenable. I mean, I don't see how you can expect that many people to all be cohesive at all times. It's kind of ridiculous, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, we're not even designed. Like, I lived near Philly for like 4 years, and like that city, as far as like what I was seeing was going on like last night, like is like this seems to be what the new trend will be. Is that anytime the cops kill somebody, no matter what they're doing, if they're brandishing a weapon or not, if they kill somebody, the city's going to riot. And the police will be told to stand down and not do anything.
Fuck that. I don't want to live in that world, man.
No.
Like, that shit sucks.
No.
Like, that's a nightmare. Like, I don't think these people realize what... I hope they don't realize it. Because, I mean, if these people do realize what they're doing, then I gotta stick with evil, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So it's like,
yeah.
shit. So it's like, I'm hoping that you're an idiot. I'm hoping that all these people are useful idiots that aren't actually gonna vote. I guess is what I'm hoping. I don't even know what to hope.
I think folks that they're like these folks were like looting, and like even like 11 looters got shot by other looters.
Yeah,
got their shit that they stole.
Just think about the guy was like loading the car, and then got carjacked and shot for shit that wasn't even his.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, you win 2020, bud.
Yeah, it's like the guy that what's his name, Kyle Rittenhouse killed, and where he was like in his face like earlier that night saying, shoot me, and okay.
That story.
He manifested that. He manifested that reality for himself, and
that went after it.
Yeah, and that is now the story of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean. Because, like, from what I know of him, which is just in the little bit of media that covers that kind of stuff, he was like a dirtbag anyway, wasn't he? Like a child molester or something like that?
He had, like, some child sex crime in his past or something like that. But, you know what's weird is, like...
And now you die assaulting a minor.
Yeah.
Like, that is the story. You're absolutely right. That is the story of that guy's life.
Yeah.
You hurt children, and you died in the street.
Yeah.
That's the story of his life.
Yeah.
That sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. I was at a wedding 2 weekends ago, something like that. And this guy, this may take a minute. I apologize for the long tangent. I mean, I've got nothing to do.
I'm spinning yarn, buddy.
But this guy, it's like the after party for the wedding. So like I'm still somewhat in my wedding clothes, but not all of them. You know what I mean? So
we have popped the top button. Got the bow tie hanging.
The bow tie was still on.
Oh,
but the shirt
like
had
Chippendale
been
style.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The dad bod edition of Chippendales. Mothers, lock up your daughters. Dad bod Chippendales is on the loose. Anyway,
forget that. I'm here for the mothers. Yeah, what are you talking about?
Lady!
I'm cougar hunting tonight. Yeah, what's up?
This guy was there. We were staying out at this lodge somewhere out in Cook County, like off of a dirt road. Beautiful starry night. No light pollution or anything like that. Nice. Like be a good night for stargazing and whatnot.
Sure.
But this the bride and groom, they had went and retired for the evening, and understandably, so we're outside, got a little fire going, and just enjoying ourselves. And this guy, he's ranting for angrily. It's at a wedding, it's a celebration. He's ranting angrily about like QAnon stuff for like 2 hours. And everybody is slowly going away. And like, me into conspiracies and whatnot, I'm chilling. So I'm trying to keep him away from everybody else, because he is Debbie Downer.
Take one for the team.
I'm not trying to sleep with any of the bridesmaids or anything like that. I'm just enjoying myself. I'm like, this guy needs a friend. These folks over here, they don't want to be his friend right now.
Right.
They've listened to enough QAnon stuff. Where they're like, I'm gonna go in.
That doesn't take much.
Yeah, but so he'd said all this stuff, and he's like, I'm chiming in with like, oh yeah, that's true. This part, no, that's not true, sir. You know what I mean? Right. But he's just there, and drunk, and he's stumbling and slurring and blah blah blah, blah, and it sort of quieted down a little bit, and I had told him I was like, hey man, I need you to listen to me for 1 second. He's like, oh, I know. I'm like, no, you don't know. You have to be quiet for just a little bit because I want to tell you something, and I need you to be quiet. Granted, I'd listened to him for like 2 hours now at this point, so he was like, all right, And I told him he's holding a beer. I'm like, that is a crutch. I was like, you are weak. This alcohol in your hand makes you weak. How many friends? You've lost a friend before? Did you have friends that died? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what would they think if they had your life, that you've spent all this time guzzling alcohol and making yourself low and vibrational and weak and vulnerable? And he's like, oh, well, I didn't know. I was like, I think you can do better with your life. And I think you can transcend this. And guess what? Whenever you first try to stop, you're going to feel impotent. You're going to feel weak. You're going to feel cowardly. You're going to feel shame. And I can see him start tearing up, like crying.
You're getting somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. And again, the folks they're partying, they can't hear because I'm talking to them in this voice. And I made a connection with this. I'm like they want you to feel weak, just like how you feel angry about the stuff you see about Biden in the news. Like that sort of anger. It's like, you can transcend that too, because you don't need this alcohol. But check this out. I can see your vulnerability and your weakness. I could fucking destroy you right now if I wanted to, but I don't want to. Instead, I want to bring you a message of love and kindness and let you know that this alcohol in your hands is making you a bitch, and you need to make life your bitch, and your life isn't over. Your life isn't over. What? You think because you're middle-aged, you're done? That your golden years are behind you? Motherfucker, you have life to live still. Where are you at in 20 years from now? You're going to be just a sad, impotent fuck? You don't want to be a sad, impotent fuck. You want to be somewhere like resounding. And all it took was, I even finished off, I was like, maybe my whole purpose for being at this wedding tonight was to talk to you and to bring you this message. But he listened, and just from me, just having to, just because I know about conspiracies and was able to read the room and be like, all right, this guy's sort of gravitating to where all the people are. I'll sit here and talk to him. But I put a spark in that man's brain, to make him do something better.
Good on you. Good on you. Save a life, man.
Yeah. I think that's the secret, though, is incremental change.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, if all you have to be able to listen to somebody if you can tell they need somebody to listen to them. A lot of times, even kids that turn violent either towards themselves or towards their fellow students or something like this. A lot of times it's because they didn't have somebody that was willing to listen to them.
Right.
And that just goes on, and you just get this cycle of low vibration, and you hate yourself because you're not doing anything, and then you feel sorry for yourself, and then you just drown it all with bad drugs.
It's sad to think how much of that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? That's the story of the year, isn't it? I mean...
Well, maybe not the bad drugs, but definitely the nobody's listening, to other people, but everything's just sort of... Choose your side, and we'll explain later. Mm-hmm. And I don't like those optics or those options.
Yeah, that sucks. I don't want to live that way.
Fuck no, dude.
I'm not doing that.
Fuck no.
I'm opting out. I'm not doing it. I'm not living that way, man. I'm just not.
That's one thing I can say. I'm very, very happy to live in the buckle of the Bible Belt in 2020 because almost everyone that I encounter is just sort of like, man, that's some bullshit. I don't even care.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And when somebody is sick, everybody is really understanding. And maybe like, same way like maybe 1 out of 4 persons in the South is just an open bigot. You have 1 out of 4 persons in the South that, with this COVID 2020 lockdown, that just has apocalypse fever. And they're just like, end times are coming, you know?
Yeah, and I think also with like a lot of conspiracy theories too, you know, like that kind of thinking attracts a lot of like, kind of paranoid, kind of schizophrenia kind of types. You know, so I mean, now that the whole country is locked down, these people are like, this is what we've been training for. You know what I mean? Like it's go time. You know, so it's.
I had a fair amount of friends this year, you know, hit me up after, you know, because I kind of became sort of ostracized a couple years ago, and the conspiracies definitely don't help.
No.
You know.
No.
But then, like, you know, 2020 happens, they'll like reach out and be like, hey, so what do you know about you know, some of this stuff that's going on? It's like, well, not a whole lot, but here's some good people to listen to.
Yeah.
For that, come to your own conclusions. But then I'll also have folks hit me up and be like, I had no idea that everyone in Hollywood was fucking children.
It's like, well, I hope not, but
I don't think everyone. Like, again, these broad brushes aren't really helping.
yeah, that doesn't help anybody. Like I said, painting with the broad brush. But again, you have to in a country this size, or people feel they have to.
Well, yeah, because it goes back to what you said. Like, do you really think how shit is done in LA is going to work here in the swamps? Like
LA.
I live in LA.
LA. Yeah, I did a year in LA. I'm good. Or I lived in Santa Monica. It was expensive. You know, it was cool. I'm glad I did it. You know, I could say I was a LA chef for a while. That was cool. But
I just think that it's. I don't know if secession is what needs to happen, as far as like whatever is happening with the West and the left. Mm-hmm. And by left, I don't mean like liberalism or anything. I just mean like the left. You know, these leftists that like maybe that is the solution, that they either need their own state or their own country. But then what worries me is that kind of the same way with this. Woke ideology is, well, what happens then if they become imperialistic? Right. And they're like, the whole world needs to be woke now. Right. You know, then you have Nazism all over again. All over again.
I think it's so funny that these people that are constantly pointing at other people, talking about, you're a Nazi, act like Nazis most of the time. Yeah. You're like, wait a minute, buddy. You know, like, slow your roll, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I still try to keep to myself, but I don't like to admit this, but I'm actually afraid kind of right now. I mean, like, not like I'm like living in fear, but you know what I mean? Like there's this background fear to this, because how far is this going to go?
Yeah. Is this the end?
You know?
Like that's my big question.
Yeah, it's unnerving. Like how far are these people really going to push this? Like you mentioned a minute ago, if this election goes left, it's going to get real ugly. Mm-hmm. When people start making threats, I tend to believe them. I'd rather you disprove yourself than me not believe you and be the one at fault. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the things that these people are threatening to do, if you believe them, then this is bad news. You know? Bad news. I mean, we're talking about, like, fundamental dismantling of everything, essentially.
There's even ideas now that, like, the Constitution needs to be abolished.
Yeah.
Like...
That's the most ridiculous shit I ever heard in my life. With the exception of, no, I don't think there is an exception. I think that's the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. Abolish the Constitution. Yeah. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life.
Yeah. because it's time for a new idea. It's like, you guys, you haven't started by, like, getting, like, people together to vote these people in. Like that, so you're literally trying to have an authoritarian government set.
Yeah. Well, it's like, do you realize that this document is what's allowing you to say this? against your government.
Correct.
And do you realize that the whole world followed this model? That this was the first one. And what is it? There's only like 3 countries left that don't actually have a constitution or something, but it's
small amount.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Especially compared to the 18th century and what was going on in the world, you know?
I mean, this was the first, and now there's basically none left that don't. I mean, this is important. You know, when people talk, oh, we need to change the system. No, you just need to work within the system and, you know, work for your goals.
Well,
I think people are frustrated because, like, we can't get anything done. That's kind of the point. That's how brilliant this system was set up. It's hard to do anything.
Yeah.
Because look at the catastrophe that would happen if it was easy to do shit. Like,
seriously.
These people are ready to push the button, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And some of them, I just the double standards, just everything, like, I don't want to see this divided country. You know what I mean? Like, because it can't go anywhere good. That can't go anywhere good.
No.
It's like
Civil War.
Oh, that's the top of the list of shit I don't want to live through.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, same.
Or die in either. You know, like,
I don't really have a choice on the dying matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want that to go down. God, I don't want that to go down. Like,
I feel that if... Okay, so 4 scenarios of the election, like that I'm about to give. 3 of them I believe.
Okay.
1 of them I will not buy it, and I'll believe that this is truly rigged and America's done.
Okay.
If Biden narrowly wins, if Trump narrowly wins, or if Trump wins in a landslide, I can believe all of those based on what I've seen developing online over the past 4 years.
Right.
If Biden wins in a landslide...
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Do not buy it at all.
Yeah.
The further this year's gone on, and the more trauma that like all of us have gone through, but you know, just personally speaking, that I've gone through, I'm starting to believe with more tangible data that all of this is something that is set up because of Donald Trump being the president. I know that sounds stupid and conspiratorial, but my rationale behind that is what I think, again, about this banking cabal that Ronald Reagan brought in 1980. Again, it takes a long time to change things in this country. Mm-hmm. They had set up a more or less what looks like a 40-year plan to usher in the New World Order.
Yep.
And have the one world government, wherein the G7, right? All of the different heads of these particular nations will rule over areas that they have split up. So I think there's 11 areas in total that they have. So they have been setting all this up, and then in comes the game show host with the potty mouth, and it's a wrench in the spokes. So how do they react? Well, they throw on the brakes on the wheels of progress. Yeah. We haven't seen as much get done in the past 4 years as what was brought to the table, because nobody's listening to the right side of the aisle, just because the left authoritarians are saying you can't do that. Yep. You can't work with these people. If you work with them, then you are one of them. And you look at every other ideology that they have pushed out, whether it's wokeism or Saul Alinsky, where he talked about partisanism and polarizing things, or the Antifa fascism that they push through. Like all this stuff is connected deeply to left authoritarianism and Marxism. Like this idea of like...
Oh, the key word, Marxism. Most of these people that feel this way picked a lot of this up in academia, and I don't understand how Marxism has this pull to people that think they're smart. I don't get it, because you're not smart.
Well, no, because
if you're into this, but I don't understand why people that think they're smart, people that feel that intelligentsia is where they belong, or academia, or any of it, are drawn to this garbage ideology. And that's where all of this comes from. Is this just this? Let's divide people into subcategories. Let's create racial tension. Let's create class tension. You know, let's get back to. I mean,
or the notion that all you are, your worth is just your labor. Like that's
it's like get the hell out of here, and that you can't. You know, like we're gonna subdivide you by like your race and your class, and that's it. And any opinion you have outside of that is invalid.
Yeah,
and will negate. Like, come on, who wants to live this way? What is wrong with these people?
I think it's because they've been sold atheistic nihilism for so long, and that has, of course, no purpose, right? Mm-hmm. But then you introduce the idea of collectivism into them. And then you have like oh, this is what I've been waiting for. So you swap out Allah or Jesus, and you substitute in Karl Marx ideology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's religious fervor with these people.
Mm-hmm. But if you try to talk with them just about like, okay, so let's ignore the 100 million that died from genocide and famine due to this ideology in the 20th century. Let's just say that was a mistake. Yeah. That the abacus was just off a little bit, and the numbers are just like greatly exaggerated.
Right.
Why has this ideology never prospered? Like elsewhere?
Not once.
Yeah, and people will use the notion of like, well, government involvement in South America and Central America. Fine. If we take that in consideration, fine. But this is only one hemisphere. Right. And at the time when that was going on, there was a real threat from Russia and during the Cold War, and that these democratically elected governments over here would capitulate to the authoritarians of communist Russia and Maoist China. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very complex and nuanced thing, history. You know, and whenever you just sort of put on these rose-colored glasses and mighty fine how the communist flag just looks beautiful in rose-colored glasses.
I don't understand. Yeah, the amount of people that claim to be into socialism or communism and know nothing about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, talk to me about the Khmer Rouge. Let's talk about the killing fields and tell me why that won't apply to your version. And they're like, what are you talking about? You'd be like, that's why I can't listen to you. You know what I mean? It's like, go read a damn book. It's like, I feel like that's my catchphrase with people. It's go read a damn book. Crying out loud. Like, I don't know. So it's like these people are caught up in if collectivism is part of your ideology, then of course you want to be a part of something.
Yeah.
And so, is it just go with the flow? Is it as simple as go with the flow mentality? Is it as simple as just herd? You know what I mean? Just this is what they told me. It must be true. You know what I mean? Just like cattle shoot. Just, just blinders on. Just like...
Well, in nature, with the animal kingdom, those who don't conform get eaten, right? So,
yeah.
But we are a highly evolved species that is more than animal. And if you look at how our species operates, it's those who don't conform that push humanity forward. Right?
Yeah. Outliers push everything.
Yeah, the artists, the thinkers, the inventors, the writers. This is where you have to look for your creatives. And your highly motivated people. It's not going to be within this group think where everybody's just like, well, I've removed my individuality so I can be a part of the movement. It's like, you didn't just say that. Shut your mouth.
Right.
You guys are being quiet. You're part of the collective. You don't get to speak. You don't have an opinion. You don't have the right to tell me that you've given up your individuality. You know why? Because I'm in charge of this movement. Because, that's how you have it. You have the leaders of these collectivist movements, and then everybody else obey.
Right.
You'll get rewarded, maybe, when we all get rewarded. And when we all get rewarded, then you can talk. As long as it's within these confines.
Yeah, and I really just don't like the religious fervor and undertone of that. Because, that's, I grew up, Christian and stuff, and that's kind of one of the whole undertones of Christianity is, God gives you free will, so give it back and, give your will to God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these people are doing that with an ideology. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Atheistic Jesus freaks.
Yeah, it's the same freaking thing, and it's one of those things that I can't get my head around because
I don't.
You know, it's like I'm looking at it. It's like I was trying to think about. Remember that movie? What was that movie? Oh shit! The Super Troopers, where the guy in the costume out in the woods. You know, it looks like he's banging the bear, and the cops are standing there. Is the bear? Is the guy? You know, like that's how I feel when I'm looking at these people. I'm just like, are they? It's just such confusion. Like, I can look at it and know it's wrong, and that's what the cop says. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but I know it's illegal. That's how I feel. It's like, I don't know what I'm seeing, but I know it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Well, there's this thing, ideological subversion that happened in the 20th century, and the whole goal was to infiltrate the collegiate and academic institutions with Marxists that would try to sell Marxism as this sort of punk rock movement.
Yeah, when did they declare, like, mission accomplished on that? It had to be years ago. Because, I mean, that's where it's coming from. You know?
Like, that's exactly where it's at now.
I a few years ago went back to school. Like, I left my chef career, and I went to... I got some vocational training first. I went to Wiregrass, and I was like, well, I still got some... some grant money left, so I'm going to go take some classes at VSU. And I took this history class, and it was the most eye-opening thing. Not that I learned anything from U.S. history, but this class was basically the most wokest shit I ever seen in my life. And it was like, you people are taking my money for this? Like, it's unconscionable. It's unconscionable.
Like, what were they doing?
This class, okay, it's the most hilarious thing anyway. The guy that taught it is this, he's kind of this, VSU loves this guy. I can't even think of his name. But he's this little bald head dude, little vegan guy. I never saw him wear shoes. I never saw him not wearing a t-shirt that had something to do with being a vegan on it. This is the guy teaching the class, But like everything was like, oh, by the way, this is also the head of the African American studies and the women's studies. This is a white guy.
Maybe he identifies himself as a black female.
Maybe. I don't know. But so basically...
Maybe you shouldn't be so intolerant.
Basically, this American history class, which was supposed to be, I think, from 1865 to present, I think, was this class. So so Jim Crow up, essentially.
Right.
But to him, it was... The whole class was proving that, like, Jim Crow is still a thing and we're all racist. Was, like, the whole class. And, I mean, like, there were actually, like, times in the class where he was, like, apologizing to women and black people and stuff. Like, it was the most, like, pandering, patronizing shit ever.
It's part of this religion. It really is. It's like politicians that toe the company line, right? It's like, well, why did they pick them? It's like, well, because their handlers realize that these folks are going to toe the line no matter what we tell them to do.
Yeah. But the line right now is real extreme. I mean, and that's what's so weird with these people. It's like the norm for these people is to be as radical as possible.
I think that if all you have is this one ideology, right? Now, granted, with something with veganism, like I would have hoped he would have put more of his faith into veganism and not into woke ideology. Because veganism is a religion, you know what I mean?
Basically. It takes a lot of faith because there ain't no science behind it.
But I mean, I've got friends that are vegan, and I guess you would say leftists. I mean, they're definitely left, you know what I mean? But
do they look sickly when you look at them?
No. It's my buddy Ben Stubbs. He owns the Brass Quill.
Okay, I know Ben.
Yeah, and like his wife, like great people.
Sure.
I told them before, I'm like, thank God you guys have like veganism and an independent business, like as well, to like to add into like your kaleidoscope of like values, because like if all people have is this part of this ideological subversion, this neo-Marxism, this authoritarianism, it just leads people astray.
Yep.
And the more dedicated you become to it, the more whipped up into a frenzy your congregation gets you.
Yeah.
And when you don't accelerate whenever they want you to accelerate. They eat you. Like they eat their own.
Yeah.
And they ask people out. I've had friends before that, because they weren't white cisgender, so either, they're LGBTQIA, whatever.
Yeah.
Or, their ethnicity is not from Europe. And they were right-leaning. Like they were either libertarian or believed in republicanism, or even like anarcho-communists, but they're just like this. With them, it's about the community,
sure,
and they want to be left alone.
I'm not mad at anarcho-communists because there's no coercion there.
No,
like it's voluntary only. Like if you want to be socialist, go be socialist, but do it on your own. Don't coerce other people into it at gunpoint.
Yeah, totally. So big difference between
huge difference. I'm not against socialism as a concept. As a matter of fact, they say it works great for groups up to 150, but beyond that, it's not tenable.
Well, I mean, what's the there's some saying where it's like how to run a country, right? So start with your home, communism, neighborhood. Socialism.
Sure.
You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
But the bigger you get, it doesn't scale.
No.
It's
So
funny. And this
once
is
you
what
get past that, you have democracy, right? And then you have republicanism. Then you have libertarianism. And then you have anarchy. Like
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Like my brand of libertarian, I would be like, I think I'm like a minarchist. I don't believe we need like no government, because certainly we do. Because like I said, we need cops, we need infrastructure, we need courts.
You have to have a way to protect yourself from the mob.
Sure.
Whenever the barbarian horde shows up in town, like I pack guns in my fucking house, but like I don't want to use them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's my greatest fear. I don't want to have to shotgun somebody. But when it comes to defending my home, you better believe that my 12 gauge is loaded and it's racked. If you come around my house fucking around, I'm not even giving you the courtesy of hearing it rack. It's already racked.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot you through the wall. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I live in a trailer. I will kill you through the wall. You know what I mean? And tack a piece of cardboard up over it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to kill somebody. I don't think that I am like stable enough mentally that I could deal with that well. I think that's one of those things that would really fuck me up. Knowing that I snuffed a life, like I think that would really fuck me up.
I would think that I had just maybe not bought a ticket to hell, but would not be able to escape the Matrix.
Yeah,
like I'd be reincarnated back again.
Stuck. Yeah. Just I don't see how you'd ever. Ugh.
But I mean, I think that's
it's a
just
nightmare scenario.
Yeah. So like I wouldn't want that, but again, at the same time, I ain't gonna be a bitch on my fucking land. You know?
Oh hell no! We're too hard for this shit. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna come on my land and act a fool. Not when I'm the one that's mowing the lawn around here. Fuck you. Like, no.
But this, it is kind of disturbing when you see folks like this guy you're talking about. Where, in my opinion, now granted I don't know this person, but just from the description you're giving me, and not because of the veganism,
right?
I say he's a racist. I say he has a white guilt and a white savior complex, wherein he feels that because of his supremacy, he has to lower and debase himself to other people.
Yes, it's like a soft bias. It's that soft thing. It's like.
Doesn't mean he's a bad person because of this racism either. I want to make that clear. He may have good intentions, but at his heart of hearts, that's a racist outlook on the world.
Yeah, it is.
And you can transcend that racism.
And there is an implied superiority in that. And it's like, oh yeah, now let me prostrate myself in front of you. In front of a bunch of teenagers? This is a guy that's probably got me by a few years, so he's probably in his early 40s. It's like... And here you are apologizing to teenagers for racism and sexism 200 years before you were born? Get bent. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt about it every time. It was like, man, did I ever want to skip that class? I didn't, because I'm good at school. I'm a goody twos, you know. But I wanted my A, you know what I mean? But
of course.
But I mean, I sat mid to back. I didn't participate or ask questions ever. Why would I want this jackass's opinion on anything. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not gonna, hey, you want to clear up some Amelia Earhart questions for me? Like, no, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like I said, this guy has already shown himself to me. I just want my grade at this point.
You know, maybe there is something about, and I was talking with Biscuit about this. I don't know if it was, can't touch that bonkers. I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, but something too, like having adolescence and going to high school in Lakeland, in like this small town where there was a very small amount of people, like no matter what ethnicity they were just bigots in some way, but everybody else for the most part, nobody gave a shit. Like
none. Like it's funny, like meeting people like in Chicago and stuff. Like there'd be like, there was like 2 black kids in our school. I'm like, weren't there like 10,000 people in your school? And they're like, yeah. And there was 2 black people. And they're like, and they look at us in the South like we're racist and shit. I'm like, I mean, I think at the time we were in Lakeland, I think it was
50-50, like whenever I was in high school.
Or close. Or right there, probably more black than white. Yeah. I mean, but right there, I would imagine it's 50 to 40 something, you know, or, you know what I mean? And these people, it's like, wait, you've never interacted with black people? What? And you're calling the South, not just me. They were like projecting it, like extrapolating it to like the entire South. Like everybody's a race. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You just told me that you've never met black people. Like, what are you talking about? We're racist. We're an integrated society. You people are clearly in denial that you're segregated.
They're still segregated.
And it's Jersey? And it's real bad in Chicago. It's real bad.
I've never been to Chicago, but in Jersey, there would be just certain towns in Jersey, there is no like city limits other than like you get to an intersection, it's like this town now starts here. This township now starts here.
I've been a few places like that.
A sprawl. And there would be some places, I remember I was... one of the first jobs I had up there was working at Texas Roadhouse, and there was this older fellow, nice guy, and another older fellow, and we were like sort of like closing down, and they were just asking me like, oh, so where do you drive to get home? And I was like, oh, I take this highway. I was like I see it's a shorter route to go through here, but my GPS always leads me around. Like, oh yeah, you don't want to go to that town. I'm like, well, why not? Like, because you're the wrong color.
Oh.
Like, if you go to that town and it's too late and they see that there's a white man, it's a problem. Because, like, the whole town is, like, segregated. There's, like, these neighborhoods in Camden are, like, so, like, squared off and segregated that, like, there's certain...
So you're telling me that the GPS sends you around these places?
I think that is just because the GPS doesn't know I'm white. But
it might. It knows everything else about
you. True. But I think it was more or less because of their crime zones, like their drug zones that they have.
That makes perfect sense.
So I think that's one of the reasons why
Let's not send through traffic through here. That's probably solid. Yeah.
There would even be, because Camden's like right on it's right across the river from Philly. Yeah. So there would be even some times where I'm in Jersey, and the GPS would be like, get on the Walt Whitman Bridge. It's like, I'm not going into fucking Philadelphia, right. GPS. Right. Like, I got it from here. I can go east around Camden.
Yeah.
But yeah, these neighborhoods were in the South, like, civil rights era, like, and post Reconstruction era. Our culture and our societies became integrated in the South. Sometimes forcibly, but integrated nonetheless.
But we did it.
Yeah. And a lot of these other places that, suspiciously, they're still blue. They're still controlled by the Democrats, who were the slave owners, who were the oligarchs. They were about Jim Crow. They were about American Indian genocide. They were, about the KKK.
Yes.
Like all this stuff.
And these people that refuse to own the history of that party is disgusting.
I agree, and
I don't think that we hold people accountable for that kind of stuff. But the rhetoric that they throw back at other people, it's like, come on, man. It's like, y'all got to own that before you get to criticize anybody.
it's like a psychotic girlfriend.
It's
right, like the DNC. They have all this notion of like well, the right, they're racists,
right,
and like they're white supremacists. If you look at the history of the DNC, they're literally white supremacists, racists, and believed in people as property.
Yes.
Like,
yes. It's like, remember the joke you used to talk about, like with the W, you know, like, well, how do we know the Iraqis have weapons of mass destruction? Well, we got the receipt. You know, like, yeah. Like this one is like, well, okay, Democrats, how do you know the nation is systemically racist? And they're like, because we have the sheets. You know, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. Like it's you. You have to own it. Like I said, I don't think you don't punish the son for the sins of the father type thing. I'm not insinuating that at all.
Right.
But well, come on, man. We can't even have a genuine conversation about this stuff if people are still in denial about all of it. You know what I mean?
They're tearing down statues of like fucking founding fathers and Fred Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, and yet Robert Byrd, who is an alleged a high-ranking member of the KKK, and I believe a senator.
I don't even think that's alleged. I think that's like documented.
I'm just trying to cover my ass. Sir.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
But I believe he was a senator from West Virginia. He's either senator or governor.
Yeah.
And like the Democrats praised him. They're like he is a good man, and like they still have his portrait hanging up.
They talk about like he reinvigorated the Democrat Party and like got them all back in line. Like, what line was that?
The line for hating black people, apparently.
Yeah, like the KKK line. Like, what the hell, man? It's weird. There's always that thing about anytime a politician accuses somebody of doing something, I assume that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the Democrats all day long right now with this stuff. Like, you guys are racist, but all of our policies are going to separate people by race for some reason. But y'all are racist.
Well, what you have to do first is you have to identify what someone's intrinsic value is based on group identity bullshit.
Right.
You know what I mean? We all have inherent value that like our intrinsic values that we exist. Mm-hmm. Like, because we exist, there's a value to us.
Sure.
If you don't believe that, just look up your birth certificate number on the stock exchange and see how much fucking money you're worth.
Right.
Billions.
Right.
Billions. And we're told all this bullshit about like we're nothing. We're just cosmic happenstance. We're a speck, an iota in this ever expanding universe, and like life is meaningless and nothingless. But if you give us power and you let us take the wheels of change, we can give some purpose back into the world.
We'll make it better for you.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here.
They're literally just taking Make America Great Again and just repackaging it for themselves.
Literally. Yeah, literally. It's disgusting. I mean, it's so patronizing and just, every time you see these things, it's like, these people are counting on people being stupid. It's
a safe bet, or has been until 2016, when all of a sudden the polls were wrong. And they're like, well, how could the polls be wrong? We don't understand. It's because people aren't buying your bullshit. People aren't being honest with the news.
Yep.
And seriously, like, whenever you have these media campaigns where they're saying that, like, they're encouraging violence against people just because they vote a certain way, like...
That's super messed up.
Yeah, really disgusting. So you think these people that did hear Trump and were like, hell yeah, MAGA all the way, but I live in Portland.
Yeah.
I live in Manhattan. If you live in these liberal power vacuums, you're most likely not going to take to the streets and protest whenever you're the minority.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what kind of frightens me, is that a lot of these folks that are out in the streets, they're not going to vote. They're just disenfranchised, angry, and have no problems with seeing the world burn.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that. Just want to watch it burn.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of these people are politically motivated. If they were, they would know that this is terrible. And like what you're doing is counterproductive, and you know this is not going to help anybody. So they're clearly not. Yeah, I mean,
unless they're trying to do something forcibly, and I don't mean in a broad swath of the Democrat Party doing this. I mean, like if you take a look at like some of these cities, and like in 2020, the most poorly managed cities are almost exclusively Democrat controlled. The way to start, going back to what you were talking about earlier with like, well, how can I make a difference, you know, or the world, we need to fix the world and all this. Start locally. Start with your local community. You know what I mean? Like, if your community is in shambles, then whatever, I don't care if the Republicans were running it, whatever party was running it, I would be voting for the fucking opposite all the way down the ticket. All the way down. Yeah,
I mean, like, you got to think that, like, there's, I mean, I think this, I hope people are thinking this way, but, like, the people in California, right? I mean, it's like, honestly, like, my heart goes out to our fellow Americans, right? Who have been betrayed by their local leaders and are now suffering under, like, just authoritarian lockdown, destroying their economy, destroying their livelihoods, I mean, you gotta think some of these people are going, fuck this, I ain't voting for this again.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't, we lost already. You know what I mean? Like, if those people don't see that and go, this is fucked, this ain't America, what you people are doing is wrong, they're not doing this in the rest of the country, y'all are doing this to us, I hope they're seeing it. I hope there's some information getting in there.
Well, and California is like, aside from its massive size, like, you're talking about way different types of states within the same state, you know?
Yeah, Northern to Southern California should be two different states.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
They had in 2015, they had, I think, enough signatures to put on a ballot, but I think then they squashed it in some bureaucratic way, but they were going to propose to split California into 3 states.
Yeah, you get Jefferson and...
They had, the tentative names were just Northern California, Southern California, and California.
Okay.
So, Northern Cali was Oakland on up. Cali was San Fran on down to, I think, Sacramento. And then Southern California was like L.A. and San Diego.
That makes sense to me because they are very distinct regions. Like Northern Cali actually was really cool when I went back there. Like the first time I went to California, I was in L.A. and I did that whole thing. You know, I was a chef and I was working in L.A. The second time I went back was as a hippie, and we went back to work on some pot farms and do some art in Northern Cali. It was fun. But people like from our region would be very at home in Northern California. It's mountainous, and instead of corn and blueberries, they're growing weed. But it's a bunch of jacked up trucks with Browning stickers in the back glass. It's a bunch of country boys wearing flannel shirts and boots. Like, it was cool as shit. I felt at home in Northern Cali. It was really cool. I could totally see that being a different state because I bet those people feel like we do about Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that those people in this, you know, represent us and our values. Yeah. There's no way.
Atlanta keeps us purple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of think that is the best way to go. Is like you need a balance because you want to keep the car on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what worries me as far as like with Georgia is I don't want Atlanta deciding for the rest of us.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing, you know, and that's why all this talk, that's a good place to talk about these people that are trying to abolish, like, the republic. You know what I mean? They're talking about we need to get rid of the electoral college and go to a straight popular vote. That's death. We're toast.
Yeah.
If we go to straight my favorite thing I heard from it was just funny. Wiregrass had this really good political science guy. He was awesome. Like he actually hope I'm not selling him out here, but like I actually talked to him about taking some other political science classes when I went to VSU, and he goes, "Don't do that. That guy's a jackass." I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool." But he told me, he's like, democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep deciding on lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, you know how you get slavery?
Democracy. Yeah. Like, so it's a bad idea. And so I forget exactly where I was going with all that, but we have these people making decisions. Well, that's where I was for us that don't represent us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that is our struggle here. Is that Atlanta? Man, they don't care about our interests down here.
Oh, and nor do the folks down south care about the perils in Atlanta. You know what
Sure.
I mean? But
I certainly don't. You know what I mean? Like, I give a rat's ass. As far as I'm concerned, you chose to live there. You know what I mean? You can have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But whenever what was his name, Stacey Abrams was running for governor, the thing,
The real governor of Georgia.
yeah, okay. Vote for me. Why? Well, because I'm female and black.
Because
That
was her campaign. Vote for me because. Like, the fuck?
I voted gold for the governor. Of course, he surprise did not win. But
Shocker.
the thing that kept me from voting for Stacey Abrams, hyperbole aside, was the money for her campaign. Most of it was coming from California. Yeah. Why the fuck is California putting money into our state's elections?
Why is that allowed?
That's another thing.
And
I think that should be 100% illegal. Funding for state-run government campaigns or elected office, all the funds should be coming from within the state, or
we
whatever
don't allow
you're running
foreign
for.
investment into national elections. So why do we allow cross-state line investment into local elections? Yeah, that to me seems way messed up.
Yeah.
Way messed up. There's just too many conflicts that can happen there. And the other thing that blows me away is these people that are doing this and raising record amounts of money for other states are the same people that'll tell you that they should abolish Citizens United and get money out of politics and shit. And it's you don't know what you're talking about. You clearly don't, because you are arguing against your own position.
Yeah.
And that's who these people are. That's how stupid some of these people are. These are the people that have been telling us for years now, get money out of politics, Citizens United was bad. But we'll take millions of dollars from fucking Bloomberg.
Yeah. Either
come on, man. You are the... these people...
it's like a Marxist that try to say, my body, my choice. It's okay, well, I agree with your body, your choice. I mean, I've got tattoos. I've chose to put a lot of drugs in my body in my 20s.
Yeah.
So my body, my choice.
Sure.
But if you look at the history of Marxism, they literally would decide if you were allowed to reproduce or not. You know what I mean? And they're doing it now with the Uyghur Muslims and the Christians and the Buddhists that they're shipping off the concentration camps. So they're deciding who is going to be allowed to reproduce. Yeah. If that's not some evil eugenics, it's shit. I don't know what is. But the contradiction of Marxism being well, property is abolished. It's private property begins with yourself. This is where it begins, is with bodily autonomy.
And that's another thing, ownership of yourself, ownership of your labor, of the product of your labor is capitalism.
Yeah.
And people always arguing against this, and it's well, you don't understand capitalism.
Because we don't, and I've noticed that before on the show, we don't have capitalism here.
No, we do not.
We live in corporate socialism, corporate fascism. It's a corporatocracy.
Yeah.
When a company fails, a corporation fails or goes bankrupt from mismanagement, they don't get taxpayer bailouts in capitalism.
Yeah.
They get a sorry.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry. You got to declare bankruptcy. Your company's kaput. You mismanage it. You run into the ground.
Exactly. Most entrepreneurs go through this. Try again.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
It's real capitalism, we don't have that. But that's why I love things like Facebook Marketplace. You know what I mean? Me buying something from you, no taxes involved. That's what I'm talking the fuck about.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, people talk about, this is the problem with late stage capitalism. Well, if by that you mean late stage capitalism means that a lot of it has been co-opted by other ideologies, then yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Late stage capitalism, it's
a garbage term like trickle down economics.
Yeah,
it's a garbage term.
You put a qualifier in an adjective form in front of it, so it's not what it is. It's not capitalism.
Right.
It's late stage capitalism. It's not justice. It's social justice.
Right.
You know what I mean? You put these
hate crime.
Yeah, it's not a crime.
Yeah.
It's a hate crime.
Yeah.
You put all these
How about thought crimes, you bastards?
Yeah.
Wish we could prosecute y'all for thought crimes, you evil fucks.
They're gonna start doing it, man. I guarantee they're gonna.
They're gonna try to do that against free thinking people again because that worked so well throughout the Dark Ages. Great. Let
me let's pause real quick. I got pee.
Sure.
That way. Drain the bladder. Nice cup of water.
Solid. Yeah, but I wanted to go something that you mentioned a minute ago. About how people, accepting these ideologies and just kind of moving with them, and the way we've been talking about how it just kind of moves in these groups. It's like whether people realize it or not. I think I've said the term "useful idiot" a time or two. And there's people that are just working against their own interests for whatever reason because they're going along with the collective. That's why all the China shit scares me, because that's their tactics. Like, we know that that's what they do, like on purpose.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it in our country, and we're pretty sure it's them. And that's fucking scary to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that whole totalitarian thing scares the shit out of me. And I have this quote. I'm gonna read to you. I have not been able to find this other than the one place that I saw it, which was a speech that Joe Biden gave to, it was like, I don't know, like captains of industry or some shit like that. It was some, symposium meeting, fundraising bullshit, right? And during the speech, I actually stopped this thing and I rewound it and wrote this down. Like, I transcripted this myself, so I know it's accurate. This is words of Joe Biden. And he says, "We have to go beyond close ties between Washington and Beijing, which we're working on it every day. Go beyond it to include all levels of government. Go beyond it to include classrooms and laboratories, athletic fields, and boardrooms." That scares the shit out of me. This guy's running for president.
So
he's basically talking about bringing Chinese Communist Party tactics to our country via the Chinese Communist Party.
Right.
The fuck?
They want to sell the U.S. because our country is also a corporation.
Yeah, sure.
And they're wanting to
arguably first and foremost.
Yeah. And they're wanting to start selling more and more shares essentially to China, right? Because they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's like those fucking losers who cashed in their stocks before the COVID stuff happened, and they're elected officials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they had no idea.
No idea that was coming.
That's why all four of them did it at the same time.
No idea that was coming.
Fucking losers. But if a foreign country gets more shares or more control over our own country, that's not a good thing no matter who's running it. It's especially not good whenever the country that has the most to gain from it is a totalitarian, authoritarian, Marxist, communist regime that kind of has a terrible history with human rights concerns.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Like, I'm not a fan of doom and gloom and all that, but I mean, there comes a time, right? They're the hyperbole, people talk it's the most important election of your life. I don't want to say it, but it might be.
It might be.
It might be.
It might be.
Like if they have really put our republic on the line, and I believe them. Like I said, I tend to believe people making threats. Every senator now is talking about packing the court. That destroys our republic.
Yeah, that's a terrible fucking idea because no matter who does it first, right? Say the Democrats do it. Well, then the next time the Republicans get in control, they're just going to pack the court on top of that. Well, so you go from 9 justices, then what? We'll have 13, then we'll have 19, then we'll have 23. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just going to keep increasing until finally everybody that is born in America is a Supreme Court justice.
Basically.
Congratulations. Welcome to Earth. You're a judge.
I think that's actually the rosy look at it. I think if the Democrats do that, like if they get power and they do that, I don't think there's ever another Republican president after that. I mean, if you're willing to go so far as to absolutely fundamentally break our system, you're not looking to play fair and give the ball back.
No, they want power.
Yeah, and so there won't be another chance. So they talk about, oh, well, then the Republicans will get power and they'll put more jobs. No, the Republicans will never get elected again.
That's interesting.
I mean, that's what I think. If you're going to go for it, this is full Monty here, bro. Like, I don't think they're going to half-ass it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna change the court, you're gonna abolish the filibuster, you're gonna add states, thereby throwing off the whole balance of everything that we do. I'm sorry, if you destroy one of our 3 branches, then we no longer have checks and balances on the other 2.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, it's over. So I don't think there's even a chance for it to escalate that way. I think that's kind of making an assumption. You know, I mean, like, I think it's worse than that. I think as soon as they do it, it breaks. Because how are people not going to start shooting at that point? That's my thing. I don't understand how. I mean, we already know the country, I guess, is full of boogaloo boys and all these people. What happens when you disenfranchise most of the country? And they're armed. Like,
you're going to have authority, and then you're going to have everybody else.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe it is the Great War. Maybe this is the war to end all wars. And, like, I don't want war to happen, but I think no matter what happens, if Donald Trump wins, the left is going to go insane. If Joe Biden wins, the left is going to go insane.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what happens.
But I would rather, at least if the insane is a given, can we at least go insane without changing all of the variables right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can we at least, if the world's going to go nuts, can we at least have the foundation of, well, at least we still believe in the Constitution, as opposed to the team that's like, no, fuck the Constitution.
I think in the long run, it's going to be better for the country if Donald Trump wins. And at this,
I do too.
And at this point, he still could, I guess, I haven't voted yet. I still plan to vote. He still could potentially lose my vote and it go to Joe Jorgensen. Right. Or I'll write in fucking Kanye West.
Sure.
And like people are like, oh, that's a trash vote. Fuck you.
It's a protest vote.
I'll vote for whoever I want.
It's a protest vote. Why is your protest in the street valid and mine is not?
Yeah,
Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck you. As a matter of fact, I tell people when they tell me, oh, that's a wasted vote. I'm like, you know what you're doing right now? That's called voter suppression. That's what you're doing right now. You're trying to invalidate my position to benefit yours. That's voter suppression. You need to shut the fuck up. I've said that to like 2 people. And they were people that I was friendly with, and
right.
but still, it's the same thing. It's like, dude, piss off.
Yeah, it's a valid argument. I wouldn't dare tell somebody, how dare you vote for this person? Like why? What gives me the right to wag my fucking finger and try to tell somebody else like who they should vote for?
Exactly.
Like,
you're entitled to your opinion. You should, as a citizen, try to convince me, but don't you dare try to shame me.
Yeah.
Don't you dare try to shame me.
I think that's disgusting.
I have slept like a fucking teenager every night knowing that I voted for Gary Johnson. Like a fucking teenager, son. No waking up crying in the middle of the night, straight through 13 hours. That's how I've been sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, because I voted the way that it made me feel. You can't tell me it's a wasted vote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at the time, that was what I felt. That was the conscionable vote that I felt.
I saw a friend of mine. She's a tattoo artist. I forget what city she's in, Florida now, but she had posted something after the 2016 election about like that she chose to vote for Jill Stein, and this SJW chimed in on her post talking about how dare you like that, like you were supposed to vote for Clinton. Right. And because of you and people like you, now this asshole Donald Trump is in the office, and she hopes that she feels like great about how she voted. And I'm looking at that like, you fucking cunt. Like, how dare you try to tell somebody
appropriate application?
that their vote needed to echo your vote.
Yeah, fuck you.
On behalf of anybody that says that, kiss my ass. Like, that is not what, like, the tolerant way to view it. That's not an open-minded way to view it. You know what it is?
That's not the intelligent way. It's not the adult way. It's not the civilized way.
No.
It's not any way that we value.
No, it's a fascistic way.
Yeah.
You know? It's an authoritarian way to sort of say that, like you said, it's invalidated. Like, your vote is invalidated by not doing the same thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Bro, I've got friends that are apolitical, that are never Trumpers, that are Trumpsters, that are, you know, of all these different sects of society, you know, that they're atheistic, they're dogmatic, whatever. At the end of the day, these people are still individuals. Yeah. And, like, I value their opinion and their perspective on it. What I don't value is somebody trying to say, how dare you not vote for the person I wanted to win.
Yeah.
What a piss.
It's like, what are you for?
Piss poor loser said shit like that.
What are you for? And we decided on Chuck E. Cheese instead of putt-putt golf? Why are you throwing a fit right now? Like, it's weird. It's weird. But all of that said, I did vote. I voted for Trump.
Did you?
I did. I voted for as many libertarians as I could. But, like I said, I believe the Democrats. I believe that they have put the Constitution on the ballot. And I'm not with that. And even though the Libertarian Party is like my platform, that I love the party platform. The party itself is garbage. But infighting central, you know what I mean?
Have you seen that meme of the guy walking up to the drive-thru at Taco Bell? Like, he's talking to the drive-thru out of the car. He's like, so, yeah, that's why I decided to vote Libertarian.
Just telling anybody. I love it. So, you know, I mean, like, you know, the whole thing is you're not a real libertarian until somebody tells you you're not a real libertarian. You know? You know, like, so I'm sure I'll get, you know, flack from any of that if I choose to tell anybody.
You know,
else. I don't generally, I
don't like ideologues, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's my whole thing is, like, if you're so rigid in your belief system to where you think you got it right.
Yeah.
Not that right for yourself, but the moral right thing to do. It's like, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to politics ever, but every one of them is a criminal. Yeah. You have to be able to get your hands dirty and come out clean in order to progress through that system.
Yeah. Fact.
Yeah.
Fact. There's nobody in there that's righteous. There are no saints in Washington.
No.
I'm sure a lot of people went with great intentions.
Yeah.
And there are even a few that I think are doing some good work. But man, it's so few and far between, it seems, you know. But I don't know, like my whole thing is, like, you know, political strategy. You know, that's what I don't like about the big L Libertarian Party is, you know, political strategy. I feel like it just doesn't exist with these people. You know, it's like my biggest issue with, like, 2016 and stuff was, like, you know, the anarchists. I get it. It's like, y'all, I get it. That's like an ideal goal in mind. But, like, when y'all steamroll everything else because it's not anarchy, you're not helping. You know, it's like, you have to go, like, first we have to go through a rollback, and then maybe if we're lucky we can achieve something like minarchy, and then maybe if we manage to do that and have, like, a moral society, which is, come on, that's a long shot,
right?
Maybe then we can have anarchy. But to just no, we can't just roll something back, we have to abolish it. That's a shit strategy. So that's why I don't like the Libertarian Party. Now, again, that said, I tend to vote for them.
Right.
Like I said, I voted for as many libertarians as I could, except the president this time, and I think I voted for Kelly Loeffler for Senate. Just, I'm sorry, like I said, the Democrats did this. I don't like that I've been pushed to the right. It kind of pisses me off a little bit.
I don't like it either.
It pisses me off a little bit, but I know my team isn't going to win this one. And if we're ever going to have a chance of winning ever, we have to maintain the republic. And so I have to vote for the only choice I have that is saying we need to maintain the republic that has a chance of winning.
Yeah.
Granted, like I said, I love the party platform. I do. Which is why, like I said, I voted for at a state level, at a local level. Man, if you're a libertarian, you got my vote. Real talk. You know, real steel. Like, but yeah, on these big national things, man. Like I said, I got fear vote maybe. I got pushed to the right, which I don't like. I've been pushed to the right on a lot of stuff that pisses me off. I used to consider myself kind of like pro-choice. It's up to you. I kind of the law of the land as we have been alive our whole lives has been the kind of viability outside the womb kind of metric.
Right.
I never had any problem with that. I was okay with that. But then you get the left pushing for you can abort up to and immediately after the birth.
Yeah.
If that's what it means to be pro-life, or pro-choice, then sorry, I have to be pro-life now. I don't like that position. That puts me in a place I don't want to be, but y'all did this, not me.
Yeah. Well, that was, a buddy of mine had an interesting take on, or these abortion laws started coming up like 2 years ago, maybe 3, but I think it was 2. Yeah. But almost all of them stemmed because everybody's like, well, this must be Trump's fault. Of course, the right wins. Now they're putting in all these. I'm like, these are mutually exclusive from each other.
Yeah.
You're talking about the governors of these states.
Yeah.
What happened on a timeline is that Virginia started going with post-birth abortions, and New York had 9-month abortions. And these other states that are in the Bible Belt were like, if they're defining when a human life is, we have to do it now before they come in and try to do it in our state.
Yeah.
So it's a chess move.
Sure.
Granted, I don't agree with the way some of the states had it. Like, one of them was like accessory to murder. I'm like, fellas.
Back up. Pump the fucking brakes.
Yeah, if you drive somebody getting an abortion past this date, you're an accessory to murder.
Pump the fucking brakes, guys.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, shit, man, this is what happens when the ideologues take control. Yeah. Right? So, like, the folks that are pushing for this post-birth abortion, what are you aborting? The pregnancy is done.
I'm sorry, I gotta throw the word evil out again. That shit's evil. You're just killing babies.
Well, I mean, personally, I think that abortion is killing a baby.
Yeah, you're killing babies.
Yeah. Now, again, like, I got, if somebody wants to get an abortion, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't have to live with that guilt.
Right.
And I don't think the government has the right telling you what you should do with your body. However, we can't define human life at the will of who? The doctor?
Legislation?
I mean, or like the government just saying like, you guys can decide whether or not that baby is a person yet or not.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. These are the people that claim to believe in science.
Yeah. Well, the science is settled, Jake. That's the argument.
Oh, yeah, it's settled science.
You know who never says the science is settled? Scientists. Scientists never say the science is settled.
Not if they're any good.
No. People that say that it is, they are not scientists. They are devout of worshippers of scientism.
Have you ever noticed that all these people that claim to be, I believe in science, and especially the ones that think it's exclusive to religion, these people don't practice science. You're not like a scientist. So what are you? You don't really believe in science. You're like say you're an ideologue. You're just going along with this thing. It's a catchphrase. It's not even your thought. No. Like you were saying earlier. You're just repeating it.
Yeah.
It's just a parroted phrase. Do you even? I don't think people have even thought about that kind of stuff. Like I used to dabble with the whole atheism thing. Just through my agnostic period. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes more faith to believe in nothing than it does to believe in something.
Yeah. I totally
it's a full-time job to be an atheist. I ain't got it like that.
You have to. There's so much arrogance that is used with the a lot of atheists.
Yeah.
And not all of them. I don't mean to disrespect any friends or listeners of mine that are atheistic. I personally don't buy it. It is a religion.
Yeah, I mean no disrespect personally, just like if you're whatever religion you are, but know that I consider you a religious person, and that's your religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll check yes on that statement. But the older I've gotten, it makes a lot more sense to me. If we're in a simulation, or if there's intelligent design, there's still a programmer of some sort.
Yeah.
There's and this arrogance that comes from a modern atheism is that you believe in a mystical man in the sky and all this. They're taking a a symbol or an avatar of something and applying it, right? So it's no different than like where I'll hear, friends of mine that are, not in the South and they're staunch left, and they'll be all Trump supporters all think like this. It's like, bro, I know a very diverse group of people that are Trump supporters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like ideologically different, ethnically different, religiously different.
Yeah, all that.
And what I'm seeing is from the left, it's taking this atheistic secular religion, and it's trying to set the rules to be like the religion.
Yeah.
That like this is the religion that matters. So,
and again, these are the people that will tell you that we needed an amendment to separate church and state.
Yeah.
These are the same people.
Yeah. What's funny is these folks don't realize that the line between, or the separation between church and state is not just to keep the church out of the capital. It's to keep the capital out of the fucking church.
Yes, it's to protect the church, not the state.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand that government is intended to be downstream of society.
Yeah.
They don't understand this concept. And so, yes, you can bring your religion into government. Absolutely. Great example is the new Supreme Court justice. Yes, we expect this person to judge with a morality set that reflects their understanding of morality.
Right.
You don't not do those things. Like, you don't expect a senator to suspend their own belief. That's up to the voter.
Yeah.
That decision gets made by the voter. You put the guy there, he's a human being. He's going to act like a human being.
Yeah.
So there's this whole, I think that notion that people have to separate themselves. No, bullshit. Like, religion is more, I think, supersedes government in a lot of ways, is more upstream than government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, it doesn't, I think that whole separation of church and state thing, it's to definitely separate, to protect the church. And people always say, oh, Christians, it's not just Christianity, guys. It's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like your church, too. You know, like, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
The church too.
The church is a way, it's a blanket term to say, like, your beliefs are of value in America.
Yeah.
And the government has no right telling you that you can't worship the way you want unless you're infringing on somebody else's livelihood or their rights to do so.
Yeah. And it's crazy when they try to, insert themselves in those situations. Like the whole thing in California telling people you can't sing in church. You can't even have church.
Yeah, well, in New York right now, they're like, it's this weird anti-Semitic shit going on in New York.
Yeah, what's that about?
Like, they're like throwing stones at Jews because like they want to go to the park and go to church, and they're being told by what's his name, De Blasio, that back a couple months ago he told them that the churches and the parks and the synagogues, they're not safe yet.
Yeah.
But if you want to go out and protest for BLM, it's safe to do that.
Well, and it was, Cuomo said like the same thing, and he was like, I'm really having a problem with the Jews. And it was the way he said it, and I was like, whoa, dude. Like, how is that soundbite not playing everywhere? Like, we're having a problem with the Jews. It's like, are you serious? Like, the guy said that on TV. Like, what is going on?
I think it's because they've spent so much time pointing spotlights at Trump. Now, granted, a good side effect of this is that because they've done this to him, he has lifted this veil and be like, okay, we all got spotlights on us now.
And that might make this the most important presidency ever for that reason.
It might, as far as transparency.
Yeah.
That is a very comforting feeling, is the press has been holding the president to such accountability that he can't get away with dick.
Right.
Like, so that I like. Fuck the press, as far as I'm concerned.
Hopefully America's paying attention. You know.
But I think they spent all this time sort of not gaslighting, because, I mean, Trump's a douchebag.
Sure, I'm not arguing that at all. I didn't vote for him. I did this time.
Right.
I didn't vote for him in 2016. I didn't bring this on us. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like being backed into this position.
Yeah.
Like, they made me vote for a game show host. I have to live with that. You know?
You seem to be okay.
I'll be fine. Like, said, but come on, man. Are we really, remember, you ever heard that thing where it's like if you put enough monkeys in a room with typewriters, they'll eventually write a line from Shakespeare or something like that?
Yeah.
Did monkeys write this season of 2020? Like, seriously, what is going on here? Everything's off the rails.
I think, going back to what I was talking about earlier, I think that they had some sort of plan in the works for like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
Because, again, you can't just flip the board over and expect people won't get pissed off.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
And whenever this happened, that all this work they had set up, so they're like, well, we got to get rid of them. And so, like, what do? They take all this strategy that they had used, what allegedly seems that the stuff with Russia and Ukrainian collusion was going on with Biden, Obama, and Clinton at the end of Obama's term. They took this because they knew that there's evidence of wrongdoing. It's not Trump doing it.
Right.
It was them.
Right.
But it's there, and it's enough to lead people astray long enough for them to say, okay, we need a plan to, because we're not going to be able to get him out of office, but the American people, some of them will buy this story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of them did. Even though what looks like now is that there's absolutely nothing as far as what they impeached him for was all coming from the Democrats.
Yeah. And how about, what was that guy? Oh, God, I can see his ugly ass face. He was on TV like every day. I have seen the evidence. There's smoking gun.
Oh, Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff, thank you, sir.
Fucking loser.
Smoking gun evidence. I've seen it. It's definitive. Fuck you. If that guy doesn't get fucking primaried in his next fucking go-around, man, fuck. I mean, how do these people keep getting reelected? Like, I don't understand how these 80-year-olds... Like, I know he's not 80 years old, but like, how does this keep happening? How do these horrible people keep staying in power? Like, we have. These,
I wonder if it has something to do with, I don't know a lot about the gerrymandering conspiracy scandals, but it's essentially redrawing borders based on the populace.
Sure.
Right. So I could see like somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who. Like her city is in such shambles. There's apps to report when people are shitting on the street.
Yeah.
Like
what the actual hell is going on with that?
Yeah.
Like a report the poop app?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You want to talk about like a caste system? Like look at like her district.
Sure.
Like look at that, man. Like
you think there's any upward mobility in San Francisco?
If you're in the tech industry, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're in the tech industry.
If you're in the tech industry, sure.
What if you own a restaurant? Fuck you.
Well, is your name Gavin Newsom? If so, then hey, just open it up.
Yeah.
Other people can't, but you can,
Exactly.
That guy's a fucking cunt.
That guy. Yeah, good application of that word. That's a really good word for politicians. Those guys are fucking cunts, man. Like, just the dregs of society. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't.
They're awful.
All of these folks that I've seen, probably with the exception maybe of like Ron Paul, who I don't think he's in there anymore.
No.
Hasn't been in for a few years now. But almost everyone else that has been in politics and stayed in politics for that long, just look at their district and see how well it's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that I think will tell you how good a politician they are as far as helping their people out. Because if they're doing very well for themselves, like someone like Pelosi,
Maxine
Waters, Lindsey Graham on the right side of the aisle,
Mitch McConnell,
these folks that like to showboat, right? And
yeah. Oh, Cocaine Mitch, speaking of the boat. Yeah, speaking of boats, yeah. Cocaine Mitch.
Oh, God, I love being a Republican. Snorting coke off Lindsey Graham's boner.
Right.
Lizzie chimes in, I've never seen such a man blow off a boner before.
Pretty good Lindsey Graham, actually. Oh, that guy's a chump, isn't he?
But anybody that gets rich in politics, immediate skepticism should kick in.
Oh, yeah. Like, how does that happen? It's like, you make $150,000 a year or some shit, and, wait a minute, you're a millionaire now? How'd you do that? I want to see your fucking tax return.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, even like the tax return stuff, like the argument against Trump for the $750, he prepaid tens of millions.
Yeah, that's his liability came up this time for the first time in years.
Yeah,
and it was $750, and y'all say he didn't pay taxes.
Yeah, and he prepaid. So all they gotta do, because it's all about spin, right?
Yeah.
So you just take this little bit out of context and then you push it out there. Now,
well, it's like a stupid kind of logic, like saying because I got a tax return, I didn't pay taxes, I got money back. I didn't even pay taxes. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what that was. Like, and these people are saying it with a straight face on television, and I'm like, how is this a thing?
do you think you've seen They Live?
Oh yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility that like the aliens or these interdimensional beings have been here for a hot minute?
Yes.
Like I know that's like far-fetched, and that's probably not going to convince anybody to vote Libertarian or Republican or Democrat or whatever. But
if we don't have aliens or other dimensional beings, why did we just form a space force, and did we admit that we have vehicles from other places that we can't explain? That happened.
Yeah, July 26th, New York Times article.
Yeah, 2020 is so crazy. People miss the fact that the Pentagon admitted that they possess spaceships. They don't know where the shit came from.
No, like it was like not of this world.
Yeah.
So I know a lot
advanced materials.
Yes, I know a lot of folks will take that and they'll be
on.
like, well, they're from outer space. It's like I don't think so. When the term "not of this world," it means not known. Alien is not known. Extraterrestrial means outside of this Earth.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean outer space. It means elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
interdimensional or extra dimensional or
even like I mean stuff that like look at like even preposterous stuff. Air quotes with ties in with simulation and intelligent design, but like geocentrism. Like, what if this is a hollow Earth or like some sort of flat terrain that we're on? And when they say the world is round, what they mean is it is round, but we're inside of it. You know, like some sort of biosphere. A contained system, that's where you need an atmosphere to exist anyway. Like all this stuff that used to be like there's no way that's going on. Now, like, I don't fucking know. Like,
yeah. Right.
Like I there's no way I can prove or disprove it. But I tell you what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna believe what the TV man is telling me is true. Like I'm going to have to look a little further into it and like come to my own conclusions.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like how nutty is it that the Pentagon confirms that like UFOs essentially it's not a rumor.
Yeah.
We have some and we're not really sure what they are. They could be future tech, they could be past tech, like ancient tech. You know, that we
might be the shit that built the pyramids for all we know.
Yeah, it might be the stuff that we see in the water. There is a cousin of mine, I guess technically once removed. It's like my mom's cousin. Not sure what the term is. Second cousin, once removed, whatever. But he's a fisherman, and he was near Melbourne, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little further south of Cocoa Beach, and he's like out in the ocean in his boat one night, and he says he sees this light under the water, and like starts like getting brighter and closer as it's moving up, like, and the sea around him starts bubbling, like bubbling as this thing is like rising up from the bottom. He's like pretty far out. He's a few miles out. Like, so this is like after the continental shelf or whatnot drops off.
Wow.
In the Atlantic, and sees these lights coming up from under the water. So he said he turned his boat around and went back to shore.
I imagine so. Well, I mean, why not? Why wouldn't they be under the water?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it, man. Like we only know like something like 10% of our planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah.
If even like there's a whole section of the Amazon that's like the size of India that we don't even know what's in there. Like nobody's been in there.
Nope. But they keep. But it's funny, as the jungle recedes and as they keep like finding like evidence of like there's definitely a civilization in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, like we haven't found any. We're just finding just like fragments, just little just the beginnings of so somewhere in there they're gonna find ruins of some great civilization.
Yeah,
I have no doubt of that. You know, I mean, like, there's enough evidence of that already. I think. You know, like the whole it looked like the mountains, the hills, and it turns out they were temples that had been covered over. Yeah. Over all the years and stuff. So like, there's got to be a ton of stuff like that in there.
There's I think maybe it's in Ethiopia, but it's this church that essentially is like made out of like stone, like, and I don't mean like the church itself is like carved from stone and assembled. I mean a giant stone, and like these ancient peoples carved these churches into these giant like rocks.
Damn.
Like,
damn. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But of course, civilization, it began in Sumer, like nowhere else. That's always the argument, is that like, oh no, it began Sumer. Why? Well, that's because that's we've already settled. The science is settled.
Because Fertile Crescent. That's why.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? Like that wasn't an argument. That was a place. What? Like.
Yeah, you look at like stuff in the Americas where. Like, it seems to point that civilization might have begun in the Americas itself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that, there, because eons ago, the oceans weren't what they were, So, like, why else would you see Asian and Polynesian fashion, architecture, and influence on the Pacific coast of America?
Yeah, there's like there was this cave connected to the Grand Canyon somehow. And they found all this like Egyptian shit in it.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck? Like,
well, Africans never came over here. That was it was just Spaniards.
No evidence of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've been reading a little bit of that. Like, I actually just got some books. Are you familiar with Graham Hancock?
Of course.
So I just got like Supernatural and like America Before. Mm-hmm. I haven't jumped into them yet. Like, they just came in the mail like last week, but. Like, yeah, he's all on that tip, too. He's like, there was definitely civilizations here.
Yeah.
Way before the American Indians that we think were the first people here. He's like, there's definitely other evidence of stuff long time before that.
Yeah, even, like, some buildings in America that, like, they'll say that, in big cities, they'll have this, like, classical Greco-Roman architecture. Like, oh, well, this was built in 1898. It's like... The town wasn't founded until 1880, so you're saying that people in like the late 1800s that were frontiersmen knew how to build this and had the money, if
and
not,
did it? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, come on.
There's the stuff I came across with. It's around like 1812, like the year of War of 1812, as a preface for it. I think it was in December 1811 through the first week of February 1812. There were like massive earthquakes in the Mississippi Valley.
Weird.
There's not a tectonic plate that ends in the Mississippi Valley.
Yeah, that's weird.
So pretty much from the center of our tectonic plate in America, you had 5 or 6 earthquakes within a 6-week span. At the same time, the British decide to come back over to America, and the Spaniards decide to go to like Argentina. Like, you start seeing Europe come back over for warfare. Now, we're not really told about this. We're just told that, oh yeah, the war started back up again.
Right.
Well, what if there was some sort of like global cataclysm that happened from these earthquakes, and that they knew that like, hey, America just got fucked up. We should go back over there and take advantage of it, so now we can take the country back.
That's weird.
Quite weird.
How could it be? Yeah, that's weird. What could possibly... Is there like a theory as like what would have caused it?
I'm not too sure about it, but yeah, it's in Little Madrid, or New Madrid. The New Madrid earthquakes.
I'll look that up. That sounds interesting.
But yeah, 5 of them in like 6 weeks.
That's wild. Some fuckery.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like what? Because what could cause it from the middle? Because we're told that's whenever the tectonic plates shift.
Yeah, either grind or one over the other.
Yeah.
I forget all the terms and all that, but
this seems to be like if you like, Atlas holding up the world, and then like Atlas buckles a few times. You know what I mean?
Let me reposition.
Yeah, but accounts from it talk about that the Mississippi started flowing backwards.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah,
it's an interesting. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, pretty fucking wild.
There's some interesting, to everybody, I mean, they would just, at first, they sound like wild theories and all. Well, why would people say that? But, people will spin anything to gain from it.
Yeah, how do you think 2020 is going to look in the history books? You know what I mean? Like, it's in like 20 years from now.
Kind of depends on who wins in a few days, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that.
Who's going to write the books?
Yeah. Yeah, if you notice with history of World War II, nobody really talks about Japan invading China, nor the Vatican funding the Nazis, nor the Prescott Bush and his family funding the Nazis. You know what I mean? Like, they don't talk about this kind of shit at all.
No, and that's that's Graham Hancock's whole thing. It's like our history's been stolen. And how can we possibly know who we are? Of course, we're experiencing like a society-wide psychosis. We don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
That's kind of his thing.
Yeah, species with amnesia.
Yeah, it's like, we don't know who we are. They've stolen our history from us. We have no idea. And we're pretty sure, though, we're living in a way that we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have this societal sickness. It's like group psychosis or something. I don't know, psychosis is probably the wrong word. I don't know, but you know what I mean. There's some mental illness of some sort.
Yeah, like this. I think groupthink is a bit of a mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Anything that co-ops your own agency.
Yeah,
is not good for you.
Yeah. True that. But this it seems to be this idea that it can only happen on the right side of the aisle.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not going to happen to me. Because I'm on the left, and we like you said, we believe in science, we believe in progress. Like, these are, again, they're marketing campaigns to tug at your emotions to earn your vote. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the game. So if you don't transcend that and you start ask yourself, why am I voting this way? Mm-hmm. Why am I like? I've got friends of mine that are voting for Biden just because they think Donald Trump is the greatest threat to the country. And while I disagree with them on that notion, I applaud them for being critical thinkers with their vote as far as like their rationale as to why.
Sure.
And
I disagree with your conclusion, but I respect that you're at least trying to work it out.
Well, I don't like echo chambers, you know what I mean? So like if I can't have folks that I disagree with, then I'm just sort of whistling in the dark, thinking that like I've got the right answers. You know what I mean? Plus, I think it's healthy for people to sort of unpack their reasons why and to realize the power in their vote.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily like you have the power to change the world. It's like, well, no, you have the power of your vote is that's the one thing you have that nobody can take from you. Like your vote means as much as a billionaire's vote does. Mm-hmm. Now, their influence is going to be greater than yours. Sorry. Mm-hmm. But, like, when it comes to, like, the ballot box, it's going to be worth the same amount as your vote is. Yep. So that's a very powerful concept to have. And you don't get that whenever you want to flip the board over. Yep. But, like...
Well, and it goes beyond like flipping the board over, like the other, the like kind of same thing. It's like, I'm gonna take my ball and go home. Mm. Okay, fine, take your ball and go home, but don't come back with the rototiller and tear up the field.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like other people are still using this field just because you don't want to use it anymore. You're done with it.
Exactly. So take your ball and go home, Democrats, if you're pissed. But let the rational thinking people like get us back to like a. I'm just not a fan of changing variables in crisis. You know what I mean? Like this COVID thing, I'm sorry, it threw everything off. I think it's been blown way out of what it should have been, and there's too much politics tied in there. But I mean, if it is the real threat they want us to believe it is, which I don't believe, but if it was, You don't change horses in the middle of their stream.
Yeah.
That's another phrase that we use. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just, why change too many things at once? Of course that's going to create chaos. Chaos is the enemy, more so than evil, I think. Like, evil's pretty small. I think it's a pretty small group of people that I would actually call, like, actually evil. Certainly they exist, but it's a small group. But chaos? That's dangerous, bro.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, bro. That goes everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens whenever you decide to go from a democratic republic that we are to authoritarian anarchy. When you're just like, let's just get rid of everything and we'll figure it out then. That's a really bad way to sort of like these notions of we need to abolish police, abolish prisons. It's like, okay, abolish prisons. That's a fucking brilliant idea. So let's find all of the rapists and the murderers and the arsonists and the thieves and the pedophiles and all of these vagrants, and let's just put them in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And see how quickly your tune changes. I believe that we should free everybody that's incarcerated due to the Controlled Substance Act.
Fact.
Because it's a violation of our Constitution. It is an unconstitutional law.
I believe so. And I think it violates a higher law, too. Like, kind of natural law. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a fucking plant, bro.
Yeah.
It's a fucking plant, bro. Like, I'm sorry that some people might have an issue with the plant.
Don't use it.
It's a fucking plant, bro.
Talk to your kids about it if you don't want them using it.
I have a problem with all the sugar y'all keep putting in everything. I have a problem with all these fake products. I have a problem with brominated bread products. This is a fucking plant. Yeah. It's a plant. And it's like we don't ban these other things. And so it's like the argument, it's bad for you. So the fuck what?
Yeah.
Number one, it's not. But even if it was, so the fuck what?
Why haven't they made poisonous berries illegal?
It's just stupid. And this comes back to, I think a lot of these people are either, moral relativists or they think they're atheists or whatever. Because like I said, to me, there's a higher authority than government. You have society, we have religion that to me is bigger than government. For me personally, and I'm not a Bible thumper, but when it comes to this, and especially in this part of the country, I like to quote a specific verse out of Genesis 1:28. It says, "I've given you all the seed-bearing plants and herbs to use."
I think it's 1:12.
1:12 is where God, it says, "I have created the seed-bearing plants and herbs and saw that they were good."
Ah.
He actually gives them to Adam in 1:28. So, yeah, he created them in 1:12. He gives them to mankind in 1:28. We have two separate verses that cover this. At the very beginning of the book, it's probably a big deal. It's probably a big deal. Like, and then you get into other things. I mean, like I said, there's a certain part of me, like, I think I overcame my kind of agnosticism through ingesting substances. I mentioned that earlier. Mm-hmm.
That's what brought me back to God. It wasn't a congregation. It was eating too many mushrooms when I was like 23 or 24.
It took me having an experience that I cannot deny was spiritual.
Yeah.
I cannot. It was the realest thing I've ever experienced, and I feel like I met God that day. Or night, as whatever it may have been, but like, yeah, it's some interesting stuff, man. Like, I just don't think you can tell people that you can't also take something to put yourself in an altered state of consciousness.
Well,
I think being able to do that is not only like fundamental to your life experience, but you can gain a lot of benefit from these substances that people are just ignorant about.
Yeah.
But, hey, government, hey, God made a mistake, so government fixed it.
I think that, aside from that, I agree with you. But anything that's readily available in nature should never be illegal to have.
No.
Like,
no.
There's not a meth tree. There's not a fentanyl bush, to my knowledge. You know what I mean? But, like, to say that, like, you can't have certain mushrooms or weed or a cactus or ergot or
right,
or even like stuff like coca leaves or sassafras. Like these things are readily here for us.
Nightshade, laurel, yeah, all of these things documented through history of being used by people.
Yeah.
As medicine, as spiritual aids, as many things, you know. I don't tell me it's wrong. Don't tell me it's a crime.
Well, we've only...
Not only is it not a crime, it should be, like, mandatory. I don't really mean that, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Like it's a beautiful thing. I wish everybody could experience what I've experienced on psychedelic mushrooms. I've tried many different kinds of mushrooms. You know, from our local, you know, big fat purple nipples that we get around here, you know, to the cubensis and what are they? The psilocybe, you know,
golden teachers.
Yeah, you know, there's so many. I've never had like the Amanita muscarias or whatever, but
I hear with those the only time it's has strong psychedelic properties is after it's gone through some sort of filtration
digestive systems. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It either has to be peed out by a reindeer or a shaman, or you eat the droppings.
Yeah,
I've heard then you trip.
But yeah, exactly. So I've never done any of that kind of stuff. But like
I'm not trying to eat shit, bro.
Yeah, I'm not doing that either. I don't even want that coffee that like the rat ate or whatever. You heard about that stuff? You know,
no.
It's the same process. It's like there's this coffee bean that some animal eats and then shits it out, and it's the greatest coffee in the world.
Oh, fantastic.
It's shit. It's literally shit. But it's coffee. I don't drink that shit. That's when you can say, I don't drink that shit. But like, yeah, I don't know. But you know, there's so many things. And like I said, it exists in too many places in the world. And there's too many varieties of it. You know what I mean? And like the mycological record of our is ridiculous. I mean, like fungus might have been the first organism. You know what I mean? It's like it's the oldest. If there's any knowledge contained in anything, it's fucking fungus, bro.
Well, even like underneath America, there's like something like a giant like mycology map or whatever it's called, like where it's like I don't know where it would be, maybe below the bedrock or something, but there's like pretty much a giant mushroom network that covers the entire country.
Yeah.
Like just underground.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff. Like I've heard, like I said, I read a lot of this stuff interests me, you know, and listen to lectures and stuff. And you guys talking about like the way like information travels through like trees. We kind of know that, you know, and they've discovered that like, you know, like the redwood forest is basically one organism. It's all interconnected below the earth, you know.
Right.
And so it's really one organism with different, it's like we're seeing like the extremities of it. It's like almost like the nervous system of it coming up out of the ground, you know, kind of thing. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that there could be giant network, you know, and these things, like I said, the plant communication, we know this happens. And so, I mean, why wouldn't that be the case? You know what I mean? That's almost like easier for me to believe that has occurred and that's how these things terraformed and happened.
Right.
Because, I mean, otherwise, it's tough to get there without that. You know what I mean? I mean, unless you're just like straight creationist, which I think that's lazy, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a way to sort of build another echo chamber, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
where it's like, well, this is the only book we need. It's like, I don't care what book is in your hand. That's not the only book we need.
Yeah. And I like, you know, and it's funny, like, the more I learn about science, the more God is real to me, actually. And I know some people think those are, like, exclusive somehow.
I do not. I think you can use science to make arguments for the existence of God quite profoundly.
Yeah, and the more I see of it, like, a lot of scientists talk about there's this X factor to a lot of things, you know, this inexplicable whatever. Don't tell me there's no evidence for God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the more I'm just like, there's clearly intelligence. I can't see this as being haphazard. Again, because of my use of psychedelic drugs, I know that everything is connected. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
well, I think with a lot of those folks too, it's like, well, when you're given this worldview and you're told this is the universe, this is what it is. Mm-hmm. Then you're sort of putting the blinders on. You're using like, you know, applied theory in physics to sort of say, well, these are our limitations. It's like, well, okay, maybe, but these are theories.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a law. You know, like according to Einstein, there is no ether. in the air. Like, it does not exist. That was how he had to get around the failure of the Michelson-Morley experiment and his theory of special relativity. Was he said that, okay, well, there actually is no ether. And if we do that, then Copernicus still lives.
So, I mean, like, think about that. Like, the ether, the other word would be, like, the firmament. Like, I believe that all the way up to Einstein?
Well, the firmament would be our atmosphere. It would be like the shell of our atmosphere.
Okay, I got it.
The ether would be like chi.
Okay.
Like...
Interesting. It's still fascinating stuff to me.
So, I mean, like, the ether is it's like the magnetism in the sky, right? Like, whenever they send a satellite up on a balloon, they're not. I know NASA will say, like, and then they cut the balloon, and then the satellite goes into orbit. It makes a lot more sense if you just use balloons to send it up to this spot in our atmosphere where boop, there's a magnetic orbit that's just going to pick it up, and there it goes, and you never have to worry about it again. No propulsion or anything. It just rides the same way like our moon rides around like Earth.
Right. Yeah.
There's who is it? Ptolemy, I think, talked about a deferent and an equant as far as like how the universe moves. That it's like these pivot arms, right? So, for example, this guy Tycho Brahe made a geocentric model after Copernicus and after Ptolemy, where the Earth occupies the center.
Okay.
The sun and the moon go around the Earth, and all the other planets still go around the sun. So the Earth is fixed. The sun moves on its own ecliptic or elliptic, one of the two.
Elliptic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it carries the rest of the universe with it, going around it.
But Earth is still the center of the universe?
Earth is still the center. It's a fixed location. What's interesting is Einstein said that you can actually use either argument, geocentrist or heliocentric, and you can argue either with mathematics on a near identical level. We call them coordinate systems. And that you could, the same sentence of the Earth moves and the sun is at rest, or the Earth is at rest and the sun moves, are two different ways to explain the same phenomenon.
That's wild.
Mach, who came up, the term Mach 5, Mach 4, that's named after Ernst Mach. He came up with this mathematical formula that shows that we actually can't prove if we're moving or not.
Right.
That
so weird.
The oblation of the Earth that we see, that whoop, the little squash where we're not truly a sphere.
Right.
Is we get that same result whether the Earth is fixed and space moves around us, or if space is fixed and we're moving through space. We get the same results either way.
That's a brain bender, isn't it?
Here's another one for you. So as far as science for the existence of God, Hubble. Hubble discovered the redshift, right, where you notice these galaxies appear to be
this is
flying.
Doppler.
Yeah. Going further away were redder, and they were moving faster than the ones that were closer.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And this was not good, because Hubble, he said that the idea of geocentrism, while it could not be disproven, was intolerable position to take, because it puts the Earth near a local void, the center of the observable universe, even after discovering the redshift, because it's velocity coming from one fixed location.
Right.
So to get around that, he came up with dark energy and dark matter. So dark energy is the phenomena that pushes all these galaxies away from us in a seemingly uniform way, but no matter where you look in space, it's always going to look uniform from no matter where you're at. And dark matter was the substance that somehow held it together, even though it looks like it's moving further and further away from us. That you have to have something hold it together. So he comes up with this to keep Copernicus afloat in the 20th century. Meanwhile, if you say the Earth is the center, and it's velocity that causes the redshift from this Big Bang, from coming out directly from the Earth, dark energy and dark matter aren't needed. Everything equals out. the math doesn't equal out with Hubble's predictions. It's off by a factor of 10 to the 120th.
Oh, wow.
10 with 120 zeros after it.
Wow.
And that's, quote unquote, proven science. The science is settled.
Right.
With what the universe is.
You
know what I mean?
Science at any given point, I like what you said earlier, it's kind of like what we understand up to this point. But it's likely to change. It's just kind of where we are now.
Yeah. The folks that usually say like, well, that's already settled, or the decision's made, the decision's final. Those are folks that currently have power.
Yeah.
And no matter if you're talking about science or politics or academia or your job, these are folks that they're set and they like where they're at.
And so they're trying to protect that.
Yeah. Self-preservation comes before anything else.
Sure. Sure. And if you can get some power for yourself out of it too, you can increase your profits. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, self-preservation's a powerful thing.
Absolutely. Another glass of water.
That'd be great. So, I like getting into that stuff, man. Like the almost like the I don't know if it's the philosophy of science or the science of philosophy. Kind of talking about that stuff. Like, hey, are we spinning or is it spinning? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't change your life in any way or another.
I mean, maybe on a fundamental level, but you know what? Tomorrow I'm still going to have to show up for my job.
Yeah.
I'm still going to have to pay my bills at the end of the week.
Yeah, exactly. But and for, like I said, from a philosophical standpoint, if we are the only planet that has consciousness on it, we might as well be the center of the universe. So what's it matter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost kind of one of those things. It's like, meh. Like...
It was just something that, like, these are things that, like, I didn't learn about until, like, I started getting into conspiracies.
Sure.
And, I always liked conspiracies. Like, I lived through 9/11. I was in high school still whenever that happened, so...
Yeah, well, we got a dose before that, too. You remember all the conspiracies with Columbine?
Yeah.
Like... Yeah, that was our generation. We got that.
Yeah, and
it seems like it went off the chain from there.
Well, I didn't realize how multifaceted it was. I always thought it had something to do with a government cover-up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I mean, I guess arguably all of them are some sort of cover-up. But whenever I started realizing that like old world conspiracies were more than just Bigfoot and aliens, and that you can actually look at like the timeline of sort of like what happened in the from the Renaissance till now, like not that long of a time span if you think about it. It's like 400 years roughly from like the Renaissance. I think that was like late 15 early 1600s was when that was going on.
Yeah.
So I mean just a blink as far as like the time of Earth, and yet this is all we know is like this, like 2,000 years.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's garbage. It's like that's back to our stolen history or our lost history or something. Because like I'm sorry, man. The people that some people think that we're 6,000 years old as a species. That's garbage. Some people think we're 25,000 years old. That's garbage. 100,000 years old. That's garbage, man. Like we came out of the trees about 2 million years ago. Like we are such a much older species than people think.
Yeah.
Like the evidence is there, and I mean, I don't know, whatever theory of evolution you like. I don't want to be the mushroom guy, but I keep coming back to this. Are you familiar with Terence McKenna's stone ape theory? Mm-hmm. As the humanoids came out of the trees, right, and we're evolving from apes, and we're moving across the land, and we're migratory, probably encountered in our migrations psilocybin mushrooms. And so generationally, they've proven that you eat a mushroom, it actually increases neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, all this kind of stuff, and so that might have contributed to the growing of the brain. And so over thousands of years of migrations across and annually maybe consuming this thing through a time of
Right.
the brain grows. So I mean, like there's. McKenna could never prove that. Like that's one of those things that's so far back, and it's an improvable hypothesis,
right.
And even he says that. But what are other actual like working hypotheses for like evolution and like the machine of evolution. Like, how did it happen? Like, a lot of us believe that it happened, but like, how? So I dig that, but like, I'm sidetracking, but like the point of us being like, we're such an old species, but we know nothing about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're at this point where we're dealing with things that we're not ready to deal with. Like, the notion that we weren't ready for social media, I think, is legit. And this actually is one of the things that caused like a big pause in like the way that I openly think about things or would actively think about things. Like, especially as a libertarian, I'm always like, free market, that's what's up. If you can make it, sell it, kind of shit. Just wide open free market. We probably should have pumped the brakes on social media and smartphones and all that kind of stuff and thought about it before we made it widely available.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, here's this technology, and all of a sudden we're now subject to the opinions of everyone on Earth. Can you imagine being one of the people that gets like shamed or made into a meme?
I was thinking about that.
It's gonna follow you forever.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. There's one meme where I forget what it was, but it was like some porn where this guy wanted to offer his wife up as a gangbang whore, pretty much, and like he's after like she like takes on like 2 or 3 guys, and he's like yeah, that's fucking hot, and then like the 6th and 7th guy, and then they keep coming, and you can just see in his face like seeing his wife now that like she has like no interest left in like this man because he offered her his property, and then it's him just sitting down just like starting to like cry, and they've taken this image of this man like just sort of like realizing like, I really fucked up my entire life right now. My marriage, like my they're filming me, like they're seeing it, and all this has just hit him.
And it's documented on the internet forever. You will never escape this.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I think about that, like, as far as, like, I wonder how many of, like, these folks have, like done self-harm or, like, had to have, like, some sort of, like, counseling for it.
You look at the, the levels of, like, depression and suicide and like especially, like, teen suicide and all this kind of stuff. It super spikes right about 2009, which is when we all started getting smartphones. I know I got mine in 2008. I think I got my first iPhone in 2008. Probably got my Facebook account in 2010. You know what I mean? Like, it's right there. I mean, like, you look at the data, it's right there. Like, all of a sudden, we're hyper connected. We're like I said, you can't escape anything. Everything's just out there. Like, we're more connected, but we're more separated than ever. It's like, it's one of those things. It's like, maybe it's because, like I said, we don't know who we are. Maybe had we maintained our history and we knew who we were, we'd be ready for this technology. But we're clearly not. You know what I mean? It's like...
You think it was planned technology? Or do you think it was just one of these things where, like, we just sort of stumbled on it?
Yeah, I think it just kind of happened. I don't think anybody could have predicted this, like, pre-internet, kind of stuff. And like, even you go back to like when they signed like 230. That was what? 07?
I don't know what that is. 230.
230 is what gives like internet protections to like the distinction between being like a publisher and a platform.
Oh, okay.
It's what gives the protection so that you're not liable to what's presented on your platform. But it's so vague and it's worded so vague. Nobody could have predicted social media at that time.
Right.
And so, I don't think it was planned, but I think it was one of those things. By the time anybody realized what was happening, it was like, oh shit, the wheel had already rolled over us.
Right.
It's like, have you seen Social Dilemma? Have you watched that yet?
I canceled my Netflix out of the cutie scandal.
Okay. I've never paid Netflix money. I have somebody's password, and if they cancel it, I'm not mad at them. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But, by that token, I got my mama's Amazon Prime, too. So, whatever.
Yeah,
But there's this documentary that's out.
I've heard about it, and a lot of folks recommended it.
It's eye-opening. Because it's the people that, like, made Facebook. It's not Mark, it's the other guy.
Right.
And it's the guy that, like, was, like, the CEO of, like, Pinterest. And they're like, yeah, we kind of knew what we were doing, and we thought we could handle it, and... Even when it got to the point where we realized it got away from us, we kept doing it. It's like, you guys are fucking evil. I mean, like, the real wake-up part to me was the guy, it's like, at Pinterest, and he's talking about, he's like, it's designed on, like, psychological manipulation. I mean, like, that's not an accident. This was by design. We made it this way. We made it to addict you. And he's like, and I know this, I'm making decisions about this, and I myself am addicted to it. Like, that's fucked up. Like, even the guy that knows he's doing it to people falls victim to it. It's too powerful, man. We're not ready for this.
Getting high on your own supply.
Yeah, like, we're not ready for this, man. Like, the dopamine reaction that we get to it and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the most, I don't know about most alarming. I think the censorship's most alarming, but one of the more alarming aspects of it. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's kind of like an accepted addiction. Mm-hmm. Which we have a lot of that, but the fact that we've now spread this to children.
Yeah, well,
that's unconscionable.
We're using technology and a dependency to regulate dopamine.
Yeah.
Like, that's
a bad idea.
That's not good. Dopamine should be regulated from human interaction.
Yeah.
And like
natural.
A natural reward system.
Yeah.
You know?
Not the fact that you get your reward, your dopamine reward for being a total fucking cock to somebody. That's wrong. Yeah. That's a bad system.
Yeah.
You know, people just go on there with the keyboard kung fu and just yeah. You know, like, man, that's a bad thing to be. Like what I got, like negative reinforcement. You know, you're reinforcing the negative behavior. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I stopped even like debating people like through like text and whatnot. Just because like people get so mad, and then like there was somebody, a friend of mine had something with like Linda Sarsour, you know, a pro Sharia law champion, talking about women's rights. Oh, the fucking irony of that.
Yeah.
And it was something along the lines of like if your movement isn't led by a woman of color, you're in the wrong movement. And it has a picture of Linda Sarsour. Like,
wow.
Like, as far as
I
had mentioned something like no, or just something matter of fact, just like incorrect, no. And then somebody was like chiming in like, oh, what do you see problematic about this? Is it because of this? Is it because of this? It's like, I'm not fucking talking to you.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. I don't give a shit about your opinion. My friend posted this. They don't care that I disagree with them on this.
Yeah.
You do.
And the fact that people, why do you care what people you will never meet think of you?
Yeah.
Why is that an issue to you? Because that's a super fucked up priority.
I think it goes back to the dopamine regulation, because think about it, if you win the online argument, if you cause the other person to either lose their cool, or even if like it's something so small where it's like you can't even type right, you know, like like that, they'll find any jab that they can get to be like, come on, man, I just need my fucking dopamine. Just let me win, you know? Yeah,
you're right, because why wouldn't they be clucking like a junkie?
That's exactly.
I mean, you're addicted to it, so if you hadn't had it in a while, of course, you're going to go do whatever you got to do. Which is, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
man.
well, it's because,
it's fucking ridiculous.
Again, like a lot of stuff, you add in, like, the dopamine and the ideologue, wokeism, and all this stuff, and, like, it's a very masturbatory way to look at the world.
Sure. But yeah, they're on there, you're getting your dopamine hits, you know, via your thumbs, you know, and you're just like, yeah. And then, you know, the people that you're talking to are yeah. And you're all in a group and you all agree with each other and you all share the same tweets, you know, and you don't have any friends that don't agree with you. And yeah. Like, man, it's a junkie collective.
Yeah.
It's
and then
scary.
somebody comes in and says, no. Somebody comes in and says, "You guys are all junkies
and they
here."
lose their fucking minds.
Yeah, like, how dare you? Just picture like Greta, you know,
right?
Like, and anytime somebody will like have like something like smart to say online, I'll just post the GIF of Greta saying like, "How dare you?
How dare you?
Like,
stolen my dreams."
Like, this is a really stupid position for you to take on you. If you looked into it a little bit, you would understand a little bit more. But I guess you don't. My response, how dare you? How dare you?
Yeah,
like, I don't give a shit.
The keyboard kung fu masters just need to go away. Like
they're not going to.
No, they won't, because there's no consequence. It's something you can do with no consequence.
Well,
you get rewarded from it, and there's no consequence.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're unless you're on the right.
Yeah.
Then they'll cut you off.
There's an friend of mine I have. She lives, I think, over in Climax or Bainbridge, like far west Georgia, and she's like hardcore leftist. Like hard.
How's that working out in Bainbridge?
I'm pretty sure that's why she's a hardcore leftist. She does not want to be a product of her environment.
So it's a rebellion.
Yeah. But she had sent me something like for like one of her pages or like her business, her Facebook page, like so and so wants you to like it. So I sent her a message. I was like, hey, is this your actual business or for somebody else? She's like, oh no, it's for me. I'm like, oh cool, like I'll follow it. I was like, by the way, I just wanted to let you know that I agree or I don't agree. Excuse me. I enjoy seeing your posts online, even though I disagree with you a fair amount. But you seem to be one of the most tolerant leftists that I've encountered. She's like, well, I'm pretty tolerant except for anybody right of center. I was like, oh, I'm Republican, so I'm just right of center.
Yeah.
And I thought at first that she was going to go off on this tirade or like delete me or whatnot. No.
Yeah.
Like, kept me in. I think because I was one of these anomalies that she's madly intelligent, but I'm not too easily pigeonholed.
Right. Right.
So just like she probably is not too easily pigeonholed. So I think that's a slow way of how to sort of transcend this sort of time we're in. If we don't go to civil war, and if we keep it civil,
right?
But it's just through a dialogue and through like trying to show like hey, like what are your values? Where do they line up? I guarantee you, people that you think are disgusting because of their political views, they probably agree with you on most things. That most people want the world to be a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, like this divide that we see, we're told that everything's a 50-50 split, and it's really not.
No.
It's really not. I think most people are like 80-20 on most stuff.
Well, there's like...
but it's those 20 get us fired up.
Yeah.
But I think 80% of us, I think we agree on like 80% of a lot of stuff. Even people right and left. Whether you agree with like the way to go about it, we tend to agree on like what the problems are. The disagreement is how do we fix it. What I mean?
The disagreement isn't that the problems exist or don't exist.
Yeah, and that's what the media spin does, and they do all this stuff, and they boil everything down to these simplicities so that they can attack them, which is garbage, and it's just all straw man arguments anyway, which is ridiculous. Like I get that a lot. It's just I actually thought of this earlier when we were talking about like atheists and stuff. When they'll try to talk down and be like, oh, I can't believe you believe in a little man in a robe with a beard who watches over everything that's listening to your prayers. And I'm like, I don't believe that. Do you believe that?
No, personally, no.
Like, no, I don't. It's like I don't believe that. But you're trying to attack me. Like that's what I mean. That's the definition of a straw man argument.
Yeah.
Which is a logical fallacy.
Right.
And these happen all the time. I've been trying to learn like how to catch these. Man, politics is nothing but logical fallacies.
Yeah.
It's straw man arguments. It's red herrings. Like I was talking about. You're not a real libertarian. That's the no true Scotsman. Like these are all just logical fallacies that people throw around. And it's like, but your logic doesn't work. How can your whole basis of what you're doing be flawed logic?
It's a good way to paint yourself in a corner.
Yeah, fact. And they're tough. Like I said, I've gone out of my way to try to identify them, to try to learn to see them when and it's hard to spot them sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're real sneaky, And like I said, I have this book. It's like this old textbook from like, I don't know, like 1960 something. It's awesome. I found it like a used bookstore. It's just called Logic, and it's a philosophy book, and it's like how to think, but it talks about logical fallacies. There's a whole chapter on just identifying them, and like I've read that chapter over and over again, and they're tough. And so like I know if I'm looking for them and I'm missing them, I know a lot of people are missing them.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are missing them.
Yeah, I didn't start getting into like that kind of stuff until like the past couple of years, and then learned like things like false equivalencies, ad hominem, straw man.
Yeah,
arguments.
all of that. Yeah. The false equivalency one happens all the time. Like, that's probably the most common.
Well, Obama did this. We ain't talking about Obama.
We're not talking about that. It's like,
Well, Trump said this. We ain't talking about Trump.
I can't believe you support this guy. He did that. That has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's a false equivalency. Like, it's just all the time. And, you can't point that stuff out to people. You try to be like, hey, I think you need to rethink this part. I think there might be a chink in your logic here, or just something's not working. It just pisses people off. You can't tell people that, so it's like.
Well, a lot of folks will think that you're trying to tell them that they're not good enough.
Yeah.
And it's like
I'm not making a value judgment on you. It's like, you're good enough. We're having the conversation.
Yeah.
If I thought I was better than you, I wouldn't talk to you.
You have to really sort of, I'm a big bomb with a wet fuse, so you have to really push me to a certain threshold where I'm like, your opinion means nothing to me,
Yeah.
And I'm not in the, like we were talking about earlier, like strangers online, like, who the fuck are you? But like, if I know you and like had respect for you, you would have to do something pretty deliberate or pretty vapid for me to write you off, as far as just like your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah. And
like, back in the day, it was like folks that would tell me that I was going to hell because I didn't go to their church. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, who gave you the list of who gets in?
Yeah.
Who doesn't get into heaven? And now I see it as with authoritarians for the most part, like that. I don't understand how folks that hate the government want to usher in Marxism. Like, that makes no fucking sense to me. And like, that's, the means of production need to go back to the workers. It's like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Can't tell you.
No, it's what it means to them is that they're dissatisfied,
mm-hmm.
and they think that if they try this, then at least maybe it'll work, because nothing's worked for them so far, right? It's like, well, maybe there's something. I know I kind of sound like a missionary here, but maybe there's a bigger purpose for you other than this sort of poisonous ideology of Marxism.
Yeah.
Like, show me where it's done good in the world.
Once. Just anything. Just give me something to work with and I'll listen.
Yeah.
They don't care if you care.
No, that's the other thing.
They don't care if you care.
Yeah, it's like if you disagree, they're like, oh, well, you're a fascist. Fuck you.
Yeah.
No platform for fascists. It's like, all right, so you just want to paint yourself in a corner then? That's fine. And they can hold down that corner. But the problem is, if they ever try to come into my corner, I'll fuck them up.
Sure.
Like, I'm not about this sort of authoritarianism at all. Again, like, if you find meaning within the idea of communism and want to do the anarcho route, more power to you. God bless America. You have the ability to be able to do that. You can get a group together. You guys can buy land as a group and set up your commune and maintain it, have autonomy to where you are self-reliant and you don't have to deal with any of the government around you, you know?
Basically.
And I mean, I think that's a noble goal to have. The same way if you want to be anarcho-libertarian about something, where you just want your land and you want to be able to tell people this is mine. You can't have any of it. It's the same difference, or there's no difference between that and anarcho-communists, other than one's about collective and one's about individuality.
Sure.
But they're still both about autonomy and keeping themselves, governing themselves.
Yeah, it's the authoritarian communism that's an issue. It's like anytime you bring, like I said, anytime the coercion comes into it, that's when I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. Like I said, I don't have any problem with the anarchy part of it. Like I said, I get a lot of that. Like, matter of fact, if you never read, like, Murray Rothbard, it's a great read. He's ANCAP, anarcho-capitalist, like, dude's awesome. I mean, he ruthless in his anarchism, like awesome.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say earlier, is anarcho-capitalism, not anarcho-libertarian.
I knew what you meant, but it's like, Murray Rothbard, it's just like, he was awesome. He was a great mind, like, he understood the economics and he understood that these things just, as soon as people involve themselves, like things get messed up. But like I said, I don't have a problem with that. It's a good goal, I think, to scale the government back and have as little of government as possible. Mm-hmm. I always like that Harry Brown quote, I want the government to fit inside the Constitution.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be that small. So I'm not mad at the communism part. I'm not mad at the anarchy part. It's the coercion part.
Yeah.
End of the day, yeah, it's the coercion part. You do what you want to do, but as soon as you tell me what I got to do, that's when I'm mad. Yeah. That's.
Well, I find that to be a detestable way to live life, is to tell other people what to believe, what to think, what to say, where to work, what their future is going to be, what they need to pray to, mm-hmm. like when the time is to go to sleep, when the time is to be outside, and what I see, and I do agree with you, coming up on the ballot, what we seem to have is freedom or freedom or safety. Mm-hmm. And you're not guaranteed either one of these, by the way. No. But if that is what you're putting at the top of the pyramid, as far as, what you're aiming for on the horizon, I'm going to choose freedom.
Every time.
So
every time. It's like, yeah, the ballot right now, I mean, like there's I've been trying to think of different ways that I've been posting snarky stuff, like, it's like, are you voting for, like online freedom, or are you going to vote for digital dystopia?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, really, that's a valid frame for what we're looking at.
A digital dystopia, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, are you going to vote for American values, or are you going to vote for dismantling this shit? And it's not hyperbolic to say it that way, because, I mean, it's what these people are talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, the idea that these people can create a utopia, an egalitarian end for everyone, the audacity, the arrogance, like, that's not what we're here for. And again, as a religious kind of side of things, like, that, if that was the plan, it would have been set up that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. It's like, even the Matrix, they talk about the first iterations of the Matrix were paradise and people rejected it. It's just, sorry, man. It's just like, it's not perfect. But it's like this attempt to like make everything perfect for everyone. It like removes the agency from everyone to be a good person. Like, what's being a good person if you didn't have a choice?
Right. Yeah. Well, these notions of like your social credit score.
Oh,
so
God.
They're gonna bring it, man. I bet you they're gonna bring it in. It probably won't be during the Trump second term if he gets elected, but as far as like post-Trump America, like that is kind of what frightens me more. And that is one argument from liberal friends of mine where they're like, what he's done with the culture war is what frightens them, because they feel that all the stuff that's being inflamed on the left, if it weren't for Trump, that they would be not as livid in their ideological pursuits.
Oh, now, that's lazy.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that's lazy.
But I get the logic behind it as far as like how they got to that conclusion. I think America. I don't think America's done. I hope not. I really hope not. But the 20th century is kaput, and we've been living in nostalgia of the 20th century for 20 years now.
Fact.
And now we have to look towards, what do we want the 21st century to be? Where do we want to be at the end of this century? Mm-hmm. And I tell you where I don't want to be is censored online, paying more taxes, being told I have to mask up, being told I don't even go to church, but being told when is acceptable to go to church,
right.
Being told what protests are legitimate, which ones are not. And being told like what is the appropriate way to think and treat people. Yeah. Like, I do not believe in this identity politics balderdash that they've been pushing down our throats, where you like, okay, well, what is somebody's ethnicity? What is their orientation? What is their religion? Like it quantifies humanity. Like I'm a pretty firm believer that you should judge somebody as an individual based on their character, their actions, their ideas, and their consistency with all of it. Like that's how you should judge a person. How you shouldn't judge a person is well, I notice you're a white gay woman, so I don't like the white part of it, but because you're a non-hetero and not male, we're going to give you 2 out of 3 brownie points on this one.
It's intellectual aestheticism. I'm going to make my decisions based on what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You're a problem. These are the people we were talking about earlier. You're inflicting your ignorance on everyone else. Yeah. Because it makes you feel good. Fuck you. Yeah. Sincerely. Fuck you.
Well,
yeah. Like,
Dan Crenshaw had a statement about that. He said that, well, maybe instead of doing what we think feels good, we should start doing something that does good. Mm-hmm. And how you do that is you have to quit looking at party lines and you have to start looking at the bigger picture and being like, okay, well, if this happens, then what's going to happen 20 years from now? Yeah. And everything I see with, well, I shouldn't say everything. I don't want to be that broad of a scope on it. The majority of things that I see from the left side of the aisle point to what I would consider bad news for the end of the 21st century.
Sure.
So
yeah, I don't see how we survive their plan. Not as a country, anyway. I mean, we might,
well, it'll become like a what was it, Snowpiercer, like about the train. So
that's a weird one.
Yeah, so like, well, it's this allegory for a new world order, right? Everybody in the back car, the lower classes, everybody's fed, everybody's taken care of, but everybody has to get the same. Everybody eats the same, everybody, it's egalitarian. And meanwhile,
everybody's safe and protected.
Yeah, you're safe. Don't worry. You'll never go hungry again. Eat your government cheese. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then as the guy progresses through the train and gets to the front and realizes that, oh, they're having banquets up here.
Yeah.
They have feasts up here. They have comfort up here and luxury. So while you have safety, it's really the illusion of safety brought to you from enslavement from the upper echelons of society.
Yeah.
So just because you got a cot and a roof over your head, or whatever that expression is, just because you have your basic necessities doesn't mean that you're doing well.
Yeah, 3 squares in a bed or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the working definition of poverty.
Yeah, and plus, like how can you transcend that? You can't.
Yeah,
if everything is equal outcome, that means you can't transcend that. That's a good thing about competition and capitalism is that, in theory, you can rise up out of your class and move to another class and then keep going. The sky is not the limit in America. There is no limit.
There's no limit.
There is no limit. So what worries me is this notion of, well, because there's no limit, let's go ahead and set a limit. And
right.
Whenever as you were talking earlier, you look at sort of seeing like these notions from the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. I don't want those bastards in that government deciding how anything should be done in America.
Ever.
Yeah,
ever.
I want Americans deciding what happens in America. I want folks in their neighborhood deciding what happens in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of republicanism.
It's like you brought up the Uyghurs earlier. I mean, like in the early 2000s, it was the Falun Gong, and and it's what those people do. If you speak out, they silence your whole culture.
Yeah,
I don't want any of that over here.
Yeah,
I mean, I got nothing against Chinese people, individuals. I got everything against communist regimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that.
Hard fuck that.
Yeah.
Shit, man. We got a little more than 3 hours on this.
Really?
On this mother. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like we could keep going.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on and talking libertarian values and shooting shit and
yeah, it's fun, man.
all this other stuff.
It's fun. It's good to talk. You know, it's I love the discourse even just as a pastime. You know, but right now it's important. You know what I mean? Because like it needs to be out there. A lot of people, you know. A lot of people don't think about this stuff. Like, I'm kind of a politics junkie. Like, I entertain myself with politics. You know, I enjoy it. It's where discourse lives in our country.
Dude, start a podcast, man.
Well, maybe I will. But you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't listen to this stuff, and they don't think about it. So, you know, like, maybe just, you know, talk about it. Get it out there.
Well, I mean, you'll have, not to brag on my listeners, but you'll have probably about 50 people at minimum that
that's awesome.
That will hear your ideas. Cool. You know,
super cool.
So from all over the country, and even some folks in Europe as well. We got some listeners in
nice.
Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Clichy, France, and Islington, England.
Nice.
Had a listener in Moscow. Like.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, man. So
worldwide, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, baby steps, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But baby steps are still progress, nonetheless.
It's a fact.
And that's
a fact.
I would much rather us take baby steps to making our country as awesome as possible than I would to just flip it over and see what happens.
Sure. But, yeah, and I think it happens this way, over a table, talking.
Hell yeah.
You know, of course, you're not really disagreeing on a whole lot, you know. But you know, this still. You know, we're participating. This is how it happens.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's good stuff.
Yeah, man. Jake Jackson.
This was fun.
Can people find you on social media or anything like that? Or do we have anything you want to plug?
I mean, not really. I mean, like, I don't mind if people hit me up social media. Jacob Jackson. I'm connected to you, obviously. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
I'm down to chat and talk and shoot the shit and all that.
Yeah,
but
we'll definitely come back.
What can I plug? I'm in a band, 4-letter word. Look for us. We play out sometimes. Yeah, how about that?
Can they find your music online?
No, actually, we're just a cover band right now.
Yeah.
Like it's funny. We just started talking about doing some originals, but we're playing rock and roll.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again, man.
It was fun, man. This was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, come back. Later, y'all.